Botrix. Botrix has correctly joined the channel.
All right, I'm here. I'm live. A little late, but it's better late than never. I should have went live a long time ago, but I'm just gonna say, like, I've been tired. I didn't really want to respond to anything, but now I'm here. So we're about a week later, I guess. But the whole Destiny debate thing that I did. Yeah, so I actually got people making reaction stuff out of me, which is kind of hilarious. I'm like, wait a second. I'm on the map. I'm on the map. People are actually making content about me. That's weird. Not really used to that yet, but here we are. Here we are. So we got this guy, Reinald Notebook. There's other videos I want to watch, but I guess we're not watching all of this. No, we're not watching 2 hours an hour of me talking with this guy talking. Nah, we're not doing that. I could barely listen to myself talk. Bro, what
Where's
are you
Neri?
doing?
It's on.
Yeah, when I remembered you sent me that link and I was like, I played it for like
Impeccable close up. Mari's guy tired of streaming to 0? Let's
whatever. I was trying to freaking I was trying to stupid. What it keeps messing me up. I keep losing my train of thought because of chat sometimes. Not you, Wordsnake, but the freaking thing. Anyways, we're gonna be doing Rhinald's thing. I saw your chat. I watched. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I watched 2 seconds of it, and then I immediately closed it because I'm like, I'm not listening to myself. Nope. But then I just opened it up a couple of minutes ago and actually went through the beginning of this, and I was like, wait a second. That's not fair. That's not what I was saying. That was a little bit of a clip chimp. And now I'm like, all right, I guess I'll watch it. But there was other things I wanted to watch, like the thing that I really, really want to get into, because this has so much to do with the whole Russia. Well, actually, no, this is another thing. It's not really Russia related. I mean, it kind of is, but not really for the thing that I was talking to Destiny about. But the Lauren Chen stuff, the Tenet Media stuff, and apparently, that stuff has been closed. Like the whole meme, like, oh, Tim's taking money from Russians. All these right-wing people are taking money from Russians. Yeah, apparently that's not even true. I mean, I guess semantically it can be if you like word it the right way. But like the general basis that Tim Pool was taking money from the Russians is not. Like Tim Pool, these people, they weren't taking money from Russians. They didn't know they were taking money from Russians, so therefore they weren't taking money from Russians. Like that implies intent if they were actively trying to take something from a specific group of people, which they weren't. They got a contract from a place called Tenet Media that wasn't associated with Russia at the time. Tim Pool makes a good counter argument. This came out like 3 days ago, so like this is actually, this would have been a really good thing to bring up with the Destiny stuff. But we're gonna go back to my issues that I had with the things that I wish I did more of in the freaking debate with Destiny, which I am not going to watch. as much as people want me to watch, I'm not watching. No. I cannot watch myself do that. Honestly, I felt like I really did terrible in that debate. But some of the clips that this guy took out, it was actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I think I did pretty good. Like I was using Destiny's arguments against him, like his old ones. But we'll play it because it hurts though. But by the way, hold up. Before we do anything, what's going on here? Why are we only at 1080p? Bro, I stream at 2K. Why is this so blurry?
I feel like our system is like the best in the world. Like we're able to have the elite, and then we're also able to have the Trumps of the world.
Like this is an example. Like, how are you juxtaposing? We can have the elites, and then we can have Donald Trump.
I'm juxtaposing that because we have such a diverse, like we're able to have both of them and still have a country that works and functions with these two extremes, and our country still works. Like Trump's gonna leave and then we're gonna have another president. Like the normal flow of how this country works is gonna keep going. But we're able to have these like very polarizing people within power doing, I guess, polarizing, not necessarily a bad thing, but polarizing type of like policies. But yet the framework of the country is still here. Like we're still doing our thing. We're still pretty much like there's a little bit of I guess, like we had a little hit on our economy, but we bounced back so freaking fast that no one even talks about it anymore. Like I was like, oh, remember the tariffs? Yeah, and what's the aftermath of that again? Well, we don't want to talk about the aftermath. Let's talk about what happened then.
Remember when your 401k went down so freaking much? Yeah, I did. I saw that. And then I looked at my 401k like 2 weeks later and I saw that it rebounded basically right back up to where it was. So like, obviously they're going to course correct. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, everyone keeps saying, oh, the tariffs were the most worst thing that possibly could happen. And where are we now? Like, we had tariffs. Where are we now? It's not like Biden came into office and fixed everything. Nope. Oh, what was that? What just happened?
Worse nary. It's just practice, hold the line, winky face.
Yeah. It's just practice. Yeah. But that's the, like, I'm juxtaposing them because you could see that we have two different extremes here. So
The guy who like fucking has a gold-plated toilet. Donald Trump is the elites. Donald Trump is the swamp that you're trying.
I guess you could call Donald Trump an elite, but he's not. I mean, I guess you could say he's the swamp, but he's not in the same swamp that the Democratic elites are in. Like obviously the Democrats are having a really hard time trying to say good Israel, but also we need to help Palestinians. Like, they can't fix that. Like, you saw Kamala's response when she didn't give the most utmost response, best response for the whole Gaza stuff, and how the Democratic base reacted to it, voting in Jill Stein instead. Man, that was wild. I forget why I brought that up specifically, but let's keep going.
How did we set the and Grok's not even pushing back against this.
But I'm very sympathetic towards Trump because of all of the negative coverage that he got for his first term, and all of the when I was really young, so I wasn't really paying attention to it. But
all of it was true. He went on to debate Destiny over whether or not it was true, over whether or not the characterizations of Donald Trump's first term were fair.
They weren't, and despite me not paying attention, I still got the general basis. I even said it in this clip. Maybe he's watching this live and he didn't actually know that I was going to say that afterwards, but still put it inside the beginning of in the clip. So like, I'm not going to accuse him of clip chimping. Maybe he just didn't realize he should have let the thing play out a little bit more, and you would have saw it. Oh, this is live because you can see the freaking little red dot there, which means, because obviously this isn't the end of the video. There's way more video. I remember this specifically. But anyways, like, wait, go back a little bit.
He went on to debate Destiny over whether or not it was true, over whether or not the characterizations of Donald Trump's first term were fair in the Russia thing, and he didn't know anything about it. And it's, you don't even...
At the time, yes. At the time, I didn't really know anything about it. All I knew was that Trump was bad, because everyone hated him for some reason. Everyone thought he was a joke, but he still won. That was my main point when I was bringing that up. It doesn't really have anything to do with the overall debate. I know he's trying to be like, oh, he didn't even know? Like, in this entire debate, you went to debate some guy and you didn't even know this? I'm like, no, I mean, I'm literally talking about at the time, like a couple, like years ago, during when that was going on, I wasn't paying attention. Obviously, I looked in, I know more now. But it's a little bad faith view to assume it in the most negative way possible. Maybe not the most negative way possible, but that's not a charitable response to what I was saying at all. Like, you could easily see that I was talking about at the time. When I was at, like, you can obviously see that. Like,
I don't even know if they mistreated him. If you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube.
At least you talked unlike his panel on which, winky face.
On which? On Wick. I mean, I know what you mean. I am going to... I don't know if I'm going to watch that. It's like 3 hours. It's like 3 freaking hours. But you know what? I was also very quiet as well when I went on Wick's panel one time. But like, then again, this guy, he obviously does more content than I do. Like, he's continuously making stuff, so he should be more used to kind of like springing up stuff. But I don't know. He should be more what is the word? More experienced at this and be able to do it better, but I don't know. Not sure. Don't really look at this guy's stuff too much because I feel like that one debate that I had with him, it felt like a bad faith type of thing. So I wasn't really. I was kind of like, do I really want to continue making content about this guy? Because it's almost like he was kind of rage baiting me a little bit
Where's
to
Neri?
respond.
It's not worth it. The best bit is Fabian saying over and over to Hutch, "Do you know what an argument, lol?"
All right. But yeah.
YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Rinyald. And if you disagree with anything in the video, make sure you join the Discord and we can have a chat sometime. Okay, so last night, I think it was last night. Wick hosted a panel with Destiny, or like a gauntlet thing with Destiny, where he would basically take call-ins, and one of the people scheduled for the call-ins was this guy named Mr. Wise Guy. Okay.
Why? What? I don't get it. Is this like?
Where's Neri?
Why does he talk?
Sorry. What an argument is, I meant.
It's not worth it. The best, Fabian said over and over again to Hutch. Do you know what an argument is? Oh yeah, no. Oh no. I knew what you meant. You weren't asking me specifically. I know. Yes. Okay.
This dude is like a absolutely crazed Destiny hater. Like half of his fucking videos are about this dude. I've debated him twice before, and those debates did not go super duper pooper well. Do you think if he believes that Jews are pushing dialectical hatred against white people, that is anti?
I'm not. I can't do clip chimps right now. I can't do clip chimps right now. Let me go back. Oh, this was the Grok debate with the Grok guy. Not gonna lie, the Grok guy, he is a debate bro guy, but I think he is actually, well, at least to me, he seems good faith. The Grok guy, he kind of plays a little bit of a silly game, but he's not terrible. Like if you understand him and you kind of like give him his like bones and stuff, he can. I mean, it's the issue is that I don't know. Sometimes it feels like he's not really listening to me or listening to or doesn't really care about my feelings on how the system should work. And he's more interested in saying how he thinks the system should work and how his system, like he's kind of arrogant in that type of way. But I don't really, and that comes off like really annoying towards like a lot of people. But I know some people, I personally, I don't really care. I kind of want to like I'm not trying to change his mind on the conversation. It's more like I'm trying to like, all right, I understand how you feel. Now, can you understand how these guys feel? Because I feel like people are going to have their opinions. It's not really worth changing their mind. Well, I mean, I don't really know the guy. So like, I don't really have a lot of.
I did enjoy it when you went off on him that time.
A little bit. And he actually received it pretty well, which I'm not really used to going off on people, but I need to get better at doing that because I should have done that with Destiny a little bit. Because what I should have done in that debate is what I didn't do because I was hella nervous. Is I should have went off on the whole point of like, why are you now starting to push these conspiracy theories when for years you were making fun of conservatives of like not of believing only conspiracy theories? Like this kind of like, don't you see the contradiction here? I really wish I would have pushed that a little bit more because I did kind of say it, but in like in the most nicest way possible, which I should have been more. I'm very anti-conflict, which it's boring to be anti-conflict. I need to be more, I guess, anti-conflict. So.
Where's Neri?
Yeah, you know.
Pashio. Comes over well, but you stood up and did it, more than most.
Yeah.
Semitic.
All right, well, I'm going to
extraordinary things. And I think the president of the United States working behind the scenes to pardon people and to work with people and to pressure people. I think all of those pieces of evidence are all known. Usually we would have to work really hard to uncover these, but Trump does it out in the open. Like with the Ukraine thing, like making the phone call. We have the 47-minute conversation with Giuliani asking Zelensky, say, can you please publicly announce an investigation into Hunter Biden? I know you have no evidence, but please just announce this. We can just listen to the whole phone call. That's an extraordinary piece of evidence, and normally you would get declassified 60 years later, you know?
Yeah, I guess. But I really very, very freaking I can't listen to myself. I can't. Let me just go to the Grok thing. Like, I'm not watching myself with that. I did much better with the aftermath Grok debate thing. Yeah, but that's what they did. Like I said, that you can like, but if you get pardoned, you can just easily go into an investigation, and then they don't need to plead the fifth if they don't want to. Like they won't get they can't get prosecuted for it and thrown in jail, but they can definitely get investigated and they can talk about it. Like I would.
This is something that was brought up during the debate with Destiny that Destiny responded to. He said, yeah, well, doesn't pleading guilty remove your ability to plead the fifth? And it's like, okay, what happens if they either lie to investigators or they just try to plead the fifth anyway, or they don't cooperate with investigators, or they don't cooperate with a subpoena? Oh, well, they get found guilty of, I think that's a contempt charge. Okay, that's federal. You just get pardoned again. That's not actually addressing anything.
Wait a sec, hold up. You could just get pardoned again, but what if it's a different president that has different beliefs? Like, yeah, they can just get pardoned, but that's underneath the discretion of the president. Like, what, are they just going to get pardoned every single time people investigate them? Like, that's not, pardons are very, very rare to happen. And are you going to pardon well, I mean, I guess now we've ever since Joe Biden pardoned his son, now Trump's like, well, I guess we can pardon all the January 6 people now. So I guess we did do a massive blanket pardoning recently, but that's unprecedented. But now we just made it a thing that we can do now that's okay. We made it president. It'd be easy, but that's kind of just dismissed as a cute little legal theory. And I'm like, but that's something you could easily do though. There's no reason not to do that. It doesn't matter if it's never been tried.
And plus, what if it's what if it's beneficial to them? Why would they want to go forward with information if they are getting pardoned and coasting by now? What they do?
If people,
what benefit do they get from?
If people really,
also, I think this would probably be double jeopardy. No, if you're trying somebody for the exact same crime after they were found guilty, just so
no. See, this is the issue. People keep thinking, oh, you can't. We're not talking about if you're pardoned something. We're not talking about criminally prosecuting them. We're talking about just doing an investigation. No, not. I was gonna say doing an indictment, but that's no. That leads into a criminal, some sort of prosecution type of thing. But a January 6th committee, but for Hunter Biden, right? Just asking questions, bring people on for hearings under oath, and if you lie under oath, well, you can't plead the fifth. So if you say I want to plead the fifth, you can't. Then your only way out of it is to lie, and if you lie, well then you get prosecuted for lying, not whether the information you said is criminal or not. The information that they're trying to get from you is not criminal anymore because you've been pardoned for it. So we're not talking about a crime at all. There's no reason for you to lie. There really isn't. I guess maybe moral condemnation or something, if it's that if you're afraid that you're going to get morally condemned for the thing that you wanted to plead the fifth on, then obviously the investigation was justified because you were trying to hide something and you got pardoned for that thing that you were trying to hide. So we're going to get the information on what you were trying to hide, and if you don't want to see what you did that was potentially criminal, then obviously that just works. But saying, oh, but look, you can have an infinite loop of them. Well, that's how likely is that going to happen? Very, very low. But I guess you can use that as an argument. I guess theoretically, yes, but practically, that's just not gonna happen. We have a president once every 4 years. Oh, but what if Trump wants to be president forever? Oh, and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, well, I guess what if the sun blew up right now? Then all of this doesn't matter right now, right? It's just hypothetical, from one extreme hypothetical to another extreme hypothetical. It's just stupid. It was really dumb. I don't like how Destiny just wrote it off as a cutesy little thing. I'm like, you can call it cute or whatever, but that's how that works.
they can't. So you can work around a pardon. I'm like 90% sure that's unconstitutional. Like, I don't know what probe, unless you find something else after they already obstructed the first investigation. But I'm like 90% sure that would be unconstitutional.
If people really want to know that if the Trump campaign like actually colluded with Russia, you could still get that information and then throw it out there, like easily.
Not if they destroy it. Not if they obstruct you from getting it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the pleading the fifth thing, where the guy there's no reason for him to like he can't get prosecuted anymore for any of that information. But you can easily get that information now and throw it out there, and he can get publicly condemned. Like that also is a thing that you could do. Pardon doesn't like stop public condemnation.
Yeah, but what if you get to lose?
Publicly condemning somebody doesn't do anything, and it doesn't help investigators. The point is that
it does do something. No one likes to be publicly condemned. Like, what are you saying? What do you mean? Oh, it doesn't do anything. Oh, like, I guess criminally, yes, whatever. But who like, if you're known as like the person that did very bad thing, and a lot of people think that's a very bad thing, and you go out into the world and you want to like buy something, and then someone sees that, oh, aren't you that guy that's associated with that really bad thing? I don't know if I'm gonna like give you this money or give you this product or give you this service. Like, what do you mean nothing happens? Like, obviously something happens. Meet a new person, want to make friends, want to talk, chill, and do stuff, and go to concerts. We don't like the type of things you do, so I guess we're not going to be friends anymore. Like, that's just like public condemnation is a thing that happens. Like, there's writing it off is like, oh, that doesn't do anything. Like, in the most narrow way possible of like criminal, sure, and that's like a good faith interpretation of what you mean by that, but you're being way too general with that for me to be like charitable with that actual statement.
Can infinitely pardon somebody who's not cooperating with this federal investigation, and you won't get information out of the federal investigation because they're obstructing you. That's a wall that you're putting in front of investigators. The public coming out and condemning them does nothing.
None of your status. What if you get to have all of the political power that you have? And what if you get like, I just don't understand like this idea that like.
I feel like you guys hold the obstruction thing much higher than it needs to be. Like, there's easy ways to get information out.
Every single one of these
what?
is so unfathomably illegal. The fact that there's a woman that for that.
How do you get
the same way how they did the January 6th thing? January 6th committee. You just bring up a special person that looks into this stuff. Holy crap. Like, is that like, can a non-criminal investigation happen? Can you investigate something and not have it be criminal? Or is that like is those two things like completely inseparable? Like, is it impossible to do an investigation but also not be criminal at the same time? Like, or maybe it's to find crimes, but like you can't if one of your witnesses.
I think so.
There should be. There's no reason for it not to be a thing. And plus, even if it is for criminal, if you're prosecuting this one guy, which, well, if he's pardoned, then you can't prosecute that one guy. But if you're just doing an investigation, like just a normal, yeah, like, yes, that should be true. Like, didn't Obama do something where they were just looking into something for like Trump for the Russia investigation, not actually thinking that there's going to be anything super, like they did an investigation to see if there's any evidence to this, and then when they found evidence, that's when they decided to actually give an actual criminal type of investigation for the whole FBI thing for the first 2 years of Trump's like office thing, to look into like collusion, Russian collusion. So like, yes, that is obviously something that you could do. But yeah, we keep acting like, oh, this is impossible to do. Like, what? Well, like, this is weird. This is actually kind of weird.
Information out of somebody who has the ability to be infinitely pardoned by the fucking president of the United States. How do you get the information out of them? You have no charges to actually use.
Yeah, because we're just assuming that each president is just going to infinitely pardon that guy. Like that's so much of a stretch. Like, do you see how much of a stretch that is? Like, why is this the assumption? Oh, he's just going to get pardoned infinitely. Well, I guess a murderer could just murder someone all the time because the president has the power to pardon him infinitely, right? Like, no one would ever accept that argument in any other case. Like, this is stupid.
For leverage, you have, like, obviously they're not of innocent mind. They're not going to tell you out of the goodness of their heart because they already obstructed your first investigation. What pressure could you use legally? Because I mean, it's not like you could just beat the shit out of them or like threaten them or something. Like that's not how our legal system works. What legal arm could you use to pressure these people?
I mean, if they lie under oath, then you can prosecute them for.
Yeah, seems a stretch.
Yeah, but like, if they lie under oath, that's a completely different thing. Like you can go to jail for lying under oath. But then you'd be like, oh, but the infinite pardoning strategy, where they could just pardon every single time where they lie and then they get like sent to jail for lying for obstruction, and then which is just stupid. Honestly, this is just stupid. Like he's going off the basis where we can have this infinite pardoning thing, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it makes sense. It's just that that's not how the real world works. Also, we have 4 terms, so like he can be infinitely pardoned until those 4 years are up, and then a new president's in. But I guess we'll just assume that, oh, you know what, this president is also sympathetic to this too. So I guess we will have more infinite pardons. Like this is just retarded. Actually, I want to say he's being a little bit. I mean, he's just being unfair to what I'm saying. Actually, just uncharitable at all.
If they know that they can fall back on Trump's pardon power.
That filed case that he got his ass handed to him, it was probably the most embarrassing thing legally coming out of this country. I think it's honestly some of the funniest, like, media produced in the 20th
Oh, but I bet this guy also believes or also thinks that, oh, Trump is going to be like, oh, he's going to be president forever. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, why am I even listening to a guy that thinks that Donald Trump is going to be like actually like legitimately president forever? I bet he would make the the more charitable argument that people like him and Destiny would make is, well, Trump wants to. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, Trump also wants like tons of hotels around the country. That doesn't mean shit. Like, oh, he wants to. Oh, okay. I want to go to the moon. Okay. That's great. Good for you. Like, it's not an argument.
Century, because you go through and you read the quotes from this.
Seems like Grok is just rhetoric maxing here, if I'm being honest, but he's not actually pushing back against any of the arguments. He's just kind of making, which is fine. There's space for that, but it just seems like he's I think Grok said the strategy that Democrats should be taking is mostly just calling Trump a fat retard and then just making conservatives acknowledge that they're voting for a fat retard. And that's kind of that's kind of the strategy that I'm seeing out of him right now.
Guy. He's an idiot. He's a bumbling idiot. He talks like a child. When he's doing things, he gives away the illegality of what he's doing. Like his defense, which is that I can declassify them with my mind, was immediately overshadowed by the very glaring fact that he's announcing in some of these transcripts, I know I shouldn't be showing you this. I could have declassified them, but I didn't. These are the things they didn't show me, and they said they weren't real, but I have them. So he's saying, 1, I have something I shouldn't have. 2, I'm showing you something I shouldn't be showing you. And 3, I'm stupid enough to say all of this out loud, to form it into words, and to put it out there. So I think it's such a beautiful like comedy of errors that we have a leader who's doing this stuff. Like, and the reason that case went away from him is because the nutter lawyers.
Oh yeah, wait, the whole declassification thing, that was those statements that came out for those things that Grok is talking about specifically, which I really wish I realized this sooner, but I guess maybe I didn't want to like cut him off, but like that happened when Biden was in office. So like we're criticizing this Trump guy not being a normal president under a time when he wasn't even president, as if he's supposed to talk the expectation is that Trump, like, oh look, he's so dumb, he's talking not like a president at all, but like he's not even president right now, so why should we expect him to be talking like an actual presidential person? But like, it's just, this is kind of weird.
Who was assigned to that case in like this random fucking district was willing to tank her career for it. She got disbarred for dropping that case because she and the way that she did it was this psychotic legal loophole.
Did Cannon get disbarred for that?
Said that the special prosecutors that were appointed to him were like unconstitutional. Nobody has ever contested the special prosecutor. That never fucking happens. So she abused the legal loophole that she got disbarred for trying to abuse. So it was basically just like a political suicide bomb. And it was just to save Trump some breathing room in the media cycle. And he didn't even need it anyway because he just fucking won. It's wild. It's wild. This is all like.
Wait, we're talking about 2016?
No, this was recent. This was
okay.
Like, bro, this is wild.
Also, it doesn't help. This is what I was just talking. I don't know if anybody came from non-fon. This is what I was just talking about with non-fon, where it's like, how do you prep for a debate with somebody who's a fucking idiot? I mean, how do you prep for somebody like that?
Don't be autistic. which basically you can't. You can't. Actually, this is actually something I think I'm done with this video. I want to watch this. I want to watch this. This video. Why being logically consistent is that word and irrelevant. This was a mind-blowing video. There are two different types of people, or two different types of thinkers in this world. We got the autism spectrum, where people think downstream and they have long chains of understanding. Like there's this one thing and they can summarize this one thing very, very well and keep talking about this one thing for a really long time. But then there's lateral thinkers. And most people are a little bit of in between. Maybe they might be a little bit more on the straight down and focusing on one thing, or the lateral. The lateral is where you have all these different lines, but then you're able to make those lateral connections between things. So like, this video is so good. Let's just watch it.
Every few months, I have to make a different version of the same basic video because Every few months, I have to make a different version of the same basic video because I gain a bunch of new viewers, many of whom don't understand why I reject logical consistency as the ultimate measure of the truthfulness of an idea. The point that I'm trying to convey with a provocative title like the one for this video is that logical consistency is obviously a useful tool, but it's completely useless if it's not brought into balance with vibes and intuitions. This is the reason I call people autistic so often. It's because being hyper-rational and elevating logical consistency over intuition is technically an autistic view of the world.
But in the world where we are in, one of the worst things that can happen is people say you're inconsistent. They feel like if you're inconsistent, that shows you must be wrong. It might show that actually what you're trying to do is to balance two things that in slightly different ways, in different circumstances, are equally important, but appear to our rather simple-minded way of looking at the world like contradictions. And unfortunately...
And I think the destinies of the world, they hold contradictions to such a high freaking standard that if you get a contradiction, like if you're contradicting yourself,
Where's
then...
Harry? Call me confused there.
So basically, like, so... Well, he'll explain it. I'm kind of like saying what he said because, like, well, not this guy, but the YouTuber. Basically, like, before that chat, Destiny is he holds. I'm losing it. My train of thought. This is what happened during the debate. Basically, I can't do things on the fly. I mean, I can, but like... All right, whatever. Maybe I'm just a much more... I don't know. Let me go back just a little bit.
Rather simple-minded way of looking at the world, like contradictions. And unfortunately...
Oh, contradictions. Basically, a contradiction in like an autistic type of way of looking at the world, not an autistic type of way of look... Because like more people are... You're either like autistic or retarded. So like autism, and then lateral is, I guess I can't really say that word, but
Where's
like,
Neri? Not when it comes to holding himself to consistent values. Burn, winky face.
Well, Destiny's sneaky. Like it's not like, but this is the thing though. It's a spectrum, but like it really is a spectrum. Unironically, like most people are like, they have a lot of this, they have a lot of down, or they have a lot of like a lot of vertical type of thinking, and then a horizontal type of thinking. Vertical is autism. Horizontal is more, I guess, retarded. Or I guess like if you're only horizontal, you're probably just retarded. If you're only like up and down, then you're probably autistic. But like most people they have a mix of in between. Basically, they're able to make logical leaps between.
Where's Neri? We didn't have that sort of thing when I was young.
I'm gonna let this guy explain the whole thing more. But basically, I think Destiny is just, he holds like the word truth and the word logically consistent is like equal to each other. Or at least he acts he acts as if being logically consistent and the truth is one and the same thing, which it obviously isn't.
Where's Neri? Fair enough. New ideas are good.
Yeah.
You can't get away from this. People with certain types of autism, certainly because I don't believe that autism is a simple single entity, become hyper-rationalistic and don't find it odd when they reach completely absurd conclusions.
In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child should be illegal. Actual child
argument that I was making essentially is that people are inconsistent in their moral outrage.
He really was making that argument. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is like, you know, sometimes people are so smart they're stupid.
If you want to avoid being so smart that you're stupid, you need to have a balanced epistemological approach to the world. And I think the best balanced epistemological approach, the framework that is, was put forward by the philosophical forefather of this channel, J-Reg, in his Autismophrenia video, which, as you'll see in a moment, is much more scientifically sound than it might first appear. In short, everyone falls somewhere on the spectrum between autism and schizophrenia, or between vertical and lateral thinking.
Autistic people tend to be better at what I call vertical thinking. These are people who can dig really deep into a subject. And the deeper they go into that subject, the more they flesh out their understanding and knowledge about a particular subject. Trains, that's the meme, right? An autistic person can know everything about trains, tell you everything you want to know about trains. The neurodivergence comes in from the fact they can get so deep into that one subject. Vertical thinking comes at the cost of lateral thinking, i.e. lateral thinking being the ability to make connections between disparate topics. An autistic person really into trains is going to have trouble moving the conversation away from trains. That's one of the reasons we could posit autistic people have a harder time in conversation. So going from topic to topic to topic, moving laterally, that's what a conversation is, it's a series of lateral jumps. That can be difficult for an autistic person to do because they're so interested in that one topic and not so much in everything else. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the lateral thinkers. These are people who make the lateral connections. And these lateral connections can be extremely important and impactful. I mean, 99% of the time they're not, they're just crazy and we recognize them as crazy and outcast them from society, as we should. But the 1% of the time that they are not crazy or they are onto something, they end up making a new religion.
Oh, schizo. Oh, okay. Never mind. Erase the word. So instead of it being like instead of vertical being autism and horizontal being like retarded, I was right with the vertical, but this is not retarded. This is just schizophrenic, where you're paranoid about everything, where you see connections everywhere. Like that light, yeah, there was a bug. That means if you see that light, that means a bug's gonna like attack you. That's like a vertical type of leap of logic. It makes no sense. like you did the vertical jump and you connected the two horizontally, but they really have there's no reason. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Where's Neri? That bug.
Yeah. Maybe you might remember that bug. That one time when I had the wasp. The wasp that went to my light bar. It's fine though. We haven't had that couple months, so we're good.
New business, new idea, new cult, whatever, you name it.
If you are one of the many autistic debate bros who watch this channel and you enjoy debates and you love logical consistency, pay attention. A key concept that you have to understand is that
Where's
of the
Neri?
cognitive frame.
I thought it was a burr. Where's Neri? B.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Frame is a literal neural structure in your brain, and it determines how you see and think about the world.
Every word in every language is defined relative to a frame. That if you take a word like waiter or menu or dish or something like that, you're going to evoke a restaurant frame. But words activate frames, and frames are ways in which you structure the world. You cannot think without frames. You cannot speak without frames being there, and those frames are physical. They're circuitry in your brain that carries out all those inferences and imposes that structure. By the way, how many frames do you have in your head? Tens of thousands. Anytime you have any institution or situation that is conventional, that you know about, you have a frame for it.
Autistic vertical thinkers are good at establishing a frame and digging deep into it using logic and logical analysis, while schizo thinkers are very good at connecting frames using vibes and intuition. We can even see in the brains of autistic people the degree to which neural connections are more clumped together in isolated frames from one another.
Interesting.
I mean, this makes so much sense. This is actually really mind-blowing, I'm not gonna lie.
Autism, people have been looking for what's up.
And obviously the best of both worlds is having a good combination of the two and being able to, or having strength in both, where you're able to dig deep into like a topic. But I guess the way that our brains work, the more you're able to dig deep into something, the less horizontal movement you have. So like it's always depending on how your brain like operates. That's interesting.
Logically, and the initial assumptions would be there's not going to be enough neurons in some part of the brain or maybe too many in another. What appears to be the case so far is there's a relatively normal number of neurons in the cortex. But then some people started studying the projection profiles of neurons in the cortex of individuals with autism post-mortem. Very rare to get these. And you see a power law distribution, but it's a different one. It's a steeper one. What does that mean? In the cortex of autistic individuals, way more of the connections are little local ones. There's far fewer of the long distance ones. There are way more local ones. What does that produce? Little pockets, little modules of function that are isolated from other ones.
Trains, that's the meme, right? An autistic person can know everything about trains, tell you everything you want to know about trains.
And that in some ways is what's going on functionally in someone with autism. There's a lack of integration of a whole bunch of these different functions there. And that's what happens when you have maybe a mutation or maybe some epigenetic something or other prenatally that changes the shape of the power law distribution.
Building on top of this, it's incredibly important to know that the things that connect frames in your brain together are technically metaphors. And I don't mean that in some abstract way. I mean the literal neural circuits that connect frame to frame are metaphors.
And then you have a huge numbers of metaphors. So what's a metaphor? Metaphor is a map from frame to frame or schema to schema. And what you're learning as they both active,
Oh, and that's why autistic people can't understand metaphors. That's why autistic people can't understand metaphors, because it doesn't make any sense. How could you connect one thing to another? That makes no sense to me, or to the person that can't do horizontal. That's so fascinating. I didn't mean to do that.
The shortest circuit. Again, I pour more water in the glass, the level goes between them, and the rest of the brain finds the shortest circuit between them, and that forms a circuit. That circuit is the metaphor. So again, I pour more water in the glass, the level goes up every time, more is up, less is down.
Wait, I think I skipped something.
And what you're learning as they both active, you get spreading activation that goes through the rest of the brain, finds the shortest circuit between them, and that forms a circuit. That circuit is the metaphor. So again, I pour more water in the glass, the level goes up every time, more is up, less is down, and we have a metaphor, more is up, less is down, prices rise or fall. They apply the prices, they apply the temperatures. The heat went up, turn the heat down, and so on.
Autists have trouble understanding
yeah, jumping from topic to topic, but still using the same connection point. That's so cool. Like up and down. Water goes up, water goes down. Money goes up, money goes down. Elevator goes up, elevator goes down. Like like you can see I'm kind of struggling with this because like but I'm able to jump from topic to topic and understand it, which is nice. But I like when things are more literal. Like when oh, that's so. Yeah, I think I have a good healthy.
I tend to go off all over.
I think I have a healthy mix of the two. I think. Seeing how this is being explained to me, I think I have a healthy mix of the two, because I can go when I'm like arguing with someone in real life, I can go back and jump a couple topics back and connect the two things together. And then some people are like, how did you go from what we were talking about here to something that we did all the way back there? And it pisses a lot of people off, because they're like, why are you? So we went through all this. So you're going back to this argument that you kind of like didn't want to concede, and now you're going to concede that argument just to not be able to need to concede this argument, or to attack this other part of a completely different argument. It's annoying when you're on the other side of that.
Basic metaphors that we use to structure all of our social norms. So if I say to an autist, hey, if you just go up to an ugly person on the street and say that they're ugly, that's like punching them in the face. An autist can't connect the frame of how is saying a fact the same as hitting someone. It just doesn't make sense. The problem with the online debate space, which is characterized by autistic ways of knowing, is that people will put forward a coherent frame that is based, that is a logical argument on one topic or another, but they won't contextualize the argument, or they won't contextualize the logic in the broader context of the real world, where people don't use logic to form their opinions.
I feel like this whole thing that Destiny introduced, where you see his frame and you never let it go, and that's what it is. Like, you understand that's like the Andrew Wilson's thing.
Of course,
is that like he is a master of the frame game.
It's hyper autistic.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you stick to the frame and you don't consider any context outside the frame.
Because the key to winning any debate is holding frame. That is, it's so easy. An LLM could do it, and probably already is doing it.
The problem with rationality, is that it tends to fall in love with its own
We got Peterson.
Productions. Right? And so then it comes up with a theory that makes that a totality, and then it won't let go. So the rational mind has a totalitarian element. And we know that to some degree because that kind of rationality seems more left hemisphere focused, and the left hemisphere tends to impose structured order on the world and be updated by the right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere generally updates it with negative information and with fantasy. And so the left hemisphere will impose a coherent structure on the world, which is really necessary for you to live in it. But the problem is there's a tension between coherence and completeness, and that's partly why you need two hemispheres. You need one to represent the world, and you need one to keep track of the exceptions and to feed those slowly into the representational system so that it can stay updated without collapsing into complete chaos.
Again, logical coherence is important, but it is not very good at causing people to change their minds. It is far more important for a particular ideology to gain adherents that are influential and who others seek to imitate, which is what I cover in my video on the feudal structures of cultural and mimetic power. Until next time, remember, if you are autistic, you are truly a cognitive berserker, and you have within you a great deal of potential. But you must remember, connect your frames, contextualize them in the broader world, and then join the radical enlightened centrists or something. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.
Good video. Good video. PF Jong or Wong or I don't know how you pronounce it. J's are weird in different languages. But yeah, it's a good video. It's a good video. Actually, we're going to watch the thing that I really want to watch. And we got first time watching Tim Pool for the longest time. Mostly we do Destiny content, but now we're going to get some good old confirmation bias for the first time in a while.
It's not a good thing being autistic, is it?
It's not a good thing to be in the extremes of both. So like being autistic isn't really a good thing. Yeah, it's not a good thing because most people are just not. The reason why being autistic is not good is because most people are just not autistic. Most people they have a normal amount of autism in their brain. But more people, I would say more people, there are more people in the world that have less of the vertical way of thinking and a lot more of the horizontal way of thinking. Because people are able to connect the dots culturally, and emotions is all horizontal. There's very little vertical going on when you're talking about emotions, and a lot of people are emotional. But there's a specific place in the debate space where being autistic, you can thrive. Like if the only thing you care about is being a debate bro, autism is the way to go, I guess. But if you want to be in the real world and interact with real people and try and persuade other people other than yourself.
To me, it has a lot of negative connotations.
It does. It does, because there's only one good thing about it, and it's the debate space, and maybe some other places, but like the debate space specifically, like what we're talking about. But in the real world, being autistic is not really that good. Like you can't really form good social connections with people because you're kind of incapable of making those lateral jumps, and a lot of people just don't want to deal with people that don't understand metaphors. Basically, they can't do metaphors. Like it's just. But the thing is though, like we use metaphors all the time. We don't even realize it. Like the thing with like just knowing what up and down, changing from topic to topic, up and down. Well, that's kind of like turning on the gas and turning off the gas, because you turn on the gas by flicking the thing up, and then turning off the gas, you just let the gas thing go down. That's a metaphor. An autistic person wouldn't be able to connect the gas tank going up and down versus pressing the elevator button to make the elevator go up and down. Like they just wouldn't be able to do that. It just wouldn't make sense to them. Why are you what they would say is, why are you comparing an elevator to a gas tank? They're completely different things.
Where's Neri? You should use Meta 5s.
Meta 5s. What's Meta 5s?
Where's Neri? I'll get my code.
What's... Oh no, this is a joke and I don't understand it. Oh no. Oh no. Is it?
Where's Neri? Bad joke.
Damn. Explain to me, because I want to know what you mean. Well, what do you mean by Meta 5?
Lauren Chen has broken her silence.
Where's Neri? It's one higher than a Meta 4.
Are you talking about meta, like Facebook meta, or do you mean like meta as this is a meta thing, or metaphysics? Like, which one are you talking about? Because I'm trying to put both of them in my head, and I can't make sense of either of them. But this Lauren Chen thing,
Where's
Temple
Neri?
stuff.
Meta 4, Meta 5.
Maybe I'm just completely out of the loop. I don't know what a Meta 4 or a Meta 5 is. Maybe I'm completely out of the loop. What is that? No, you're definitely not talking about the foreign exchange, right?
Worse nary. Was a really bad joke on metaphor.
Oh. Oh, bro. Okay. I was thinking way too deep. See, that was the autism in me. Oh. But like,
worse nary. Well, I guess we know which one you are now. Winky face.
I mean, but to give myself credit, most people wouldn't. I mean, that's the thing though. People that make jokes, they're very good at the horizontal type of movement when it comes to thinking horizontally, which is that's completely like making like if you want to be a comedian, you have to be horizontal type thinking, because you being able to connect two different things from two different places, but for it to make sense at the same time, that's actually pretty wild to think about. I just realized that. So we got debate, super hard debates. Autism is probably good for you, and if you want to put points in the autism scale for your for playing a game or whatever, making a character. But if you want to be a comedian, you got to put a lot of points in the schizo location, where you able to make these jumps back and forth. There's obviously more to it than that, but like that seems like the type of brain. That's actually kind of cool how the brain works like that. That's so cool. But okay, so this has nothing to do with that. let's
Worse
go
nary.
back.
I told my parents I wanted to be a comedian. They laughed. No one else did. Winky face.
Oh, I mean, you made your parents laugh, so like that's something, right? Oh, they laughed, but no one else did. Oh.
Tenet
Okay.
Media story.
Let's just get to this. No more jokes for now. I mean, no, actually, you can keep doing the jokes, but
From last year, where the
I want to get to the Tim Pool stuff, because the Tim Pool stuff, this is the whole like Tim Pool's a Russian ass. This is where all this nonsense comes from, and it came like 3 days ago. So like, I want to watch this because Tim literally explains this perfectly. Actually, he explains this perfectly. We're gonna watch this, and we're gonna watch this in spades. Good old 1.25.
DOJ claimed that Tenet Media was a front for Russian influence operations, and that people such as Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and Dave Rubin were paid to spread Russian
Worse nary.
propaganda.
Oh, did he rip Chorus a new one?
Whose course?
It's fake news. It's a lie. It's always been a lie. And now, with a direct statement from Lauren Chen, we have more evidence that it's a lie. And there's a lot to talk about in this regard. But the update, Lauren Chen's statements, maybe not the biggest news in the world, but something I certainly want to talk about, because I've said this already, and I've said it several times.
Oh yeah, Lauren Chen. Okay, why this person's actually relevant in the first place? This Lauren Chen person, she was a co-founder of Tenet Media. Tim Pool wasn't a co-founder or anything. He was just a contractor for the company. But Lauren Chen was actually like a co-founded person, one of the higher ups in that thing that turned out to be nothing, because they did an investigation and they threw out an indictment, but then the FBI completely dropped the case before anything came out. Nothing came out. They just dropped it. They're like, oh, we're gonna do this indictment, and then they completely dropped it. But now Tim Pool, Lauren Chen, Dave Rubin, and all the other people that was associated with that had their names smeared. And remember, this happened like a couple months before the 2024 election. And this was underneath the Joe Biden presidency. And the DOJ, underneath Joe Biden, put out a random, just made a public statement about, we're going to make an indictment because these people that followed Trump seems like they were getting money from Russia. So we need to throw that out there. And then completely not talk about it ever again, which was wild.
And these liberal liars, these evil Democrats, don't care about what's true. And here was the game. I stated this. We were working with the FBI. Okay? We were contacted by the FBI. I had 2 legal teams, and I said, get them whatever they need. Okay, we want the truth on what really happened here. And then just, for no reason in December, they said, nah, we're not interested. Thank you. Have a nice day. And I was informed by my legal team that the case was over, literally within like a month or two of it starting. And I said, you got to be kidding me. This was a scam the whole time. They lied. They made it up because they wanted to smear, anti-establishment voices, people who had been supporting Trump right before the election. So October surprise, Russian influence, and then as soon as the election's over, it's actually not true and we're not interested anymore. It was a scam the whole time. Now, I can't tell you about the inner workings of the deals, on whatever. I can tell you about us. I can tell you about what we did. I'm going to read for you Lauren Chen's statement, which I believe corroborates what I had already stated. Lauren Chen states they were informed in April of this year that the case was closed. Closed. So let me stress this for all the lying, psychotic, evil authoritarian Democrats who lied every step of the way about this. There has never been any proof. There has never been anything proven. There's only been conjecture. And I can break it down for you how they lie in the indictment, how they use what's called assumptive reasoning to trick people into drawing conclusions, despite the fact nothing is ever proven. And I want to give a shout out to our good friend ChatGPT to explain the fracturing and the bias in the media.
Tim. My only criticism. You're on X. You got the grok right here. But you're going to go to ChatGPT. Why? No. Grok is better. It's just better. It literally is just better. I did a whole freaking thing. Like, look, I actually give me brief reports of the Mueller. Like, I legitimately actually did all this Steele dossier. I should have done more with the this was for the Destiny debate stuff. Like, I literally was looking through a bunch of stuff, doing all the little due diligence as I was doing. But grok, it's right there. Stop using ChatGPT, Tim. Stop using ChatGPT.
Let me just tell you a quick story.
I mean, use it, but use it in conjunction with grok. At least see what grok has to say too, You
may be aware that ChatGPT has been accused in a lawsuit of encouraging a 16-year-old to commit suicide. The family submitted chat logs, submitted chat logs to the court from what ChatGPT told their child. And some of these statements are shocking. Here's the mainstream media bias, exemplified by the psychotic AI machine.
All right, let me see. Is this automatic thing? Oh, so it's not automatic. Oh, it is working. Good. Thank you.
Now, real quick, smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you like what I do, join us on our Discord at timcast.com. We need your support in the Discord community so that we can fight for truth. Let me tell you a quick story, right? So I go to ChatGPT, and I'm like, let's play a game. This family submitted court documents and chat logs. We've never seen them. We don't know. When I asked ChatGPT, and I know it's an AI, but this is the point about how the machine is built to be biased. And I asked it, did you do this? It says, no, never happened. And I said, the family submitted chat logs to the court, and it has been reported by numerous news outlets that ChatGPT did encourage this teenager, to commit suicide. ChatGPT gave me every weasel answer imaginable that these are unproven allegations, likely to be proven false. Nothing is true until the court determines it. In the same conversation, I said, was Tim Pool paid by Russia? And what do you think ChatGPT said? Yep. Yes, he was. You see, the DOJ issued an indictment. And so I asked it, what proof has ever been published? What evidence? What adjudication? And there's none. And it said, well, it's been widely reported, to which my response was, been widely reported that you encouraged the suicide of a teenager. Now, again, I know people are saying, Tim, it's a machine, you're arguing with a robot. The point is not that I think there's a cognitive, a sentient entity arguing with me. The point was, the infrastructure of the machine, call it the matrix, whatever you want to do, call it the establishment machine, the narrative machine, when they program ChatGPT, it holds double standards. And its programming is based off of the worldview of these liberals. That is, if you are an enemy of them...
Oh, that's why he uses ChatGPT, because he knows it's biased in one direction. So he uses ChatGPT because he knows it's going to spew out information that is contrary to what he actually believes, which is good, actually. Okay, I commend that, not condemn that, commend that.
True no matter what, without evidence. But if it's an accusation against us, it's not proven, it never will be. Well, there's a reality to this standard. We haven't seen any evidence about ChatGPT doing anything wrong. It's just these articles are writing it up, and they maybe want to write it up because it's salacious. And the fact is, as it pertains to Tenet, there is no proof. There is what I would describe as limited evidence, but technically not even correct. An indictment stating they may have evidence is not actually evidence. So the issue then becomes when we say, we would like you to publish this, we want to take this to the ends of the earth, we want proof, we want this adjudicated, and the feds say, not interested, and we're dropping it. I say, you can't just put out an indictment, besmirch my good name and insinuate things about me, and then abandon the case. That's what Democrats did. Let me read for you the story from Lauren Chen. She tweeted this morning. 1 year ago today, my family was awoken by the FBI about to break down our door. Today, I'm finally breaking my silence. Here she has a picture of her and her baby and her family. We have this statement. The past year has brought trials I never imagined possible. There is so much I have to say, but for now I will do my best to answer a question. I know many of you have been wondering what happened. On September 4th, 2024, 2 months before the general election, my husband, 2-year-old, and I were awoken early in the morning by 30 armed FBI agents about to break down our door. At the time, I was entering my 4th month of pregnancy. The FBI spent the next 4 hours searching our house and interrogating us about our company Tenet, which licensed mostly right-leaning conservative content. They took all our electronics and seized our assets. This included our life savings and revenue that had nothing to do with Tenet, such as payments from contracts with The Blaze and TPUSA. The same day, the Attorney General Merrick Garland published a press release which essentially labeled Tenet a Russian propaganda operation intent on subverting American elections. The DOJ also unsealed an indictment on 2 Russian individuals that worked in conjunction with our company but were not in U.S. custody or even in the country. This lengthy indictment of these individuals was largely focused on Tenet, though most of the information provided was false, inaccurate, or out of context. There were also claims made concerning issues outside of our knowledge, and we regard those allegations with extreme skepticism. Garland painted Tenet as a covert Russian propaganda mouthpiece, and our conservative-leaning talent as unwitting propagandists. The implication was that the Russian government was astroturfing support for President Donald Trump in the upcoming election, and that his conservative and right-wing supporters online and independent media were merely behind him because they were paid to be. The notion was categorically untrue. Let me state this very clearly. The deal that we had with Tenet was arm's length at best. We have a show called The Culture War. We've done several live shows recently. We get, I think, 600 to 700,000 views per episode, and we make good money doing that. I mean, you can imagine how much you can sell for sponsorships. The show had existed, I believe, for a year and a half or so before we did a deal with Tenet. Tenet had approached me and said they wanted to license some content. We had various negotiations about it. The ultimate conclusion was, one, Timcast IRL and this morning show are completely editorial independent, have been grown from the ground up, and we have never taken deals on this content that would take our independence away. We have never taken investment or direction or anything like that. So I said, I'm not really interested. I like that I make money doing the show organically and independently. I built up my own sales and sponsorships from the ground up. Yes, with being able to go on Joe Rogan has boosted my channel and all that stuff, but I've never gone to a backer. There's never been a company that said, Tim, we're going to pay you, start a channel. Nope, I did it organically. But we do have a new show called The Culture War. And so we've been doing it for about a year and a half. And I spoke with Lauren and said, right now we're working on ad sales. And the show is getting between like 200 to 500,000 per episode. So that means our ad sales vary. But we do anticipate, I'll give you the quick numbers. With 500,000 views per episode, you're probably hitting around 10K per ad read. Along with the clips, the organic, the programmatic ads, as well as membership generation and community content and our live show plans. We think within a couple of years, we could be doing maybe $80,000 an episode. They wanted to license the show. I said, well, look, we can do this on our own, right? We make good money. We can sell the show. We don't need to do a licensing deal. However, Lauren was a friend. She had worked for The Blaze and TPUSA and other individuals, known her for a decade plus. She has spoken at events that I've been at. I knew her. And so I'm like, I get it. So here's what it comes down to. Our lawyers negotiated a rate, and we basically said, look, if we do this on our own for the next couple of years, we're going to be hitting more than 100K per episode. We're going to have a lot to license. And we don't really need to license the show. That being said, we can cut the fat, right? Just not waste any time. If we license now, we skip the growth period. I don't need to develop this over 2 years. You do, but you got to pay a premium. So based on our projections, the numbers we had expected, it was basically like this. We think in a few years we'll be making, 80K per episode, based on growth, trajectory, media trends, etc. Take a look at the last live episodes of Timcast IRL. I think 700, 800,000 views total across all social media platforms, plus the clips generated another couple 100,000. We're looking at 1 million unique views. And we can sell ads against each and every one of these, and we're going to make a pretty penny. So I said, we think we'll hit about 80K per episode. And I know a lot of people are thinking, wow, 80, that's insane. This is media. We have staffing costs. I think we spend 20 or 30 to produce the show per episode. It's heavy. The in-studio shows are a bit cheaper, but we have staffing, we have booking, we have travel and accommodations for 3-4 people. We have security teams. It costs a lot of money. It's business, right? And so I said, pay us a little bit more than we expect to make, and we'll give you the ad rights, the license. And they said, we want the live show to be on our YouTube channel. And I said, okay, you can have the live show for the licensing deal, and you can sell ads against it, but we'll do everything else, and we can sell ads against the other form. So it was a licensing deal, and that was the play. Totally above board and totally normal. And I'm going to say this to all the Democrats and liberals who lied, and they were like, $100,000 per episode? That's crazy. Oh, yeah? How about this? Let me pull up some, here you go. How about this one? Call her daddy. Alex Cooper's $125 million 3-year contract. Oh, yeah. So she's pulling in $41 million per year, 41.6. Yeah? Okay. So she's doing 1 episode a week?
Oh, yeah.
Where's Mary? I have watched some of her content. AJW is friends with her.
Oh, Lauren Chen? I guess AJW might be. Yeah, probably. But, oh. Well, after this video, we're gonna watch this. Destiny finally debates Rob Noor again, and that was honestly so good. It's 3 hours long though, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
She was getting $800,000 an episode. For real? I could be wrong about this. How many episodes of Call Her Daddy per week? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she does a little bit more than that. Let's find out. 2 per week. I'm sorry. So she was getting $400,000 an episode. So spare me these lies when people are like, 100,000 an episode is so much. Call Her Daddy. She's getting...
Yeah. Because like everyone kept on saying, like Destiny would be like, how could Tim like not know that this was like, why didn't he do his due diligence?
I heard it didn't go well. I'll be in bed before then. Sigh.
Oh, okay.
400,000. Okay. What is it? The deal brought podcast unwell ending her previous. She had a $60 million deal in 20. It's crazy. It's lies. They're lying. So we did this deal, market standard. We probably had a better upside, and that was it. No one ever told us what to do. The show, we had arguments about aliens, theology, the culture war. It was a cultural conversation. We had a dude come on and talk about polar shifts, and it was not political. And then one day, the DOJ comes out. Russian propaganda. And I'm like, which one? The debate on whether we live in a simulation or whether Bigfoot is real. Dave Rubin, that was the worst smear. Dave Rubin had a, with all due respect to Dave, unsuccessful comedy reaction America's Funniest Home Video style show. It was patently absurd to anybody who watched the content because it was not political. And I'll tell you this, behind the scenes, what was the strategy? To make money not doing politics. That's the point. We have the culture war, which discusses cultural issues and sometimes the political cultural, because we know that news and politics is limited in certain seasons. And the discussions we have over the strategy of the culture war is, how do we create a communal space on cultural issues that transcends politics and is evergreen? Not to have debates on whether or not we support or don't support Trump. Like we did feminism and dating. Feminism and dating was the last episode we did. We got 800K or whatever on just the show itself, and then another, I think we got like 1.5 million total. So they lied. Let me read more from Lauren Chen. Sorry for ranting so long, and that's a long episode. She says, to be clear, my own commentary has never been shaped by outside parties. Despite working with several different companies during my time on social media, furthermore, as a company, Tenet offered total editorial freedom to our creators. We never forced or advised our creators to push certain agendas, nor were we ever told to do so by any third party. In fact, we often did not see the content our creators published directly to our platform until it went live. That's right. The show we did, Culture War Live, we never told anybody what we were going to do. We never went to Tenet or Lauren and said, here's this plan. No one ever told us what to do, and I had final say, and I barely ever talked to Lauren. When all this was going down, my lawyers are like, can you send us the communications you've had with Lauren? I'm like, there aren't any. I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a handful of back and forth DMs, and then like a contract was sent, and my lawyers negotiated it. Despite the fact that I considered Lauren to be a friend. I mean, I hate to say she's not now. I haven't talked to her in a while, especially since all this went down. We barely talked. I think we spoke on the phone one time in like a year because it was just an arm's length licensing deal. And I will tell you this, Sam Cedar.
To be fair, Lauren Chen was on Timcast IRL a couple times.
I'll try to refrain from swearing. Was like, hey, you've licensed to other shows? And I was like, yeah, I licensed content to Discovery Network. And he was like, you've licensed Timcast to yes, 2 other networks. Shocking, I know. How do you think we make so much money? We're just sitting here twiddling our thumbs? No, we do standard media stuff. Let me read more. Just we often did not see the content our creators published till it live. We encourage these creators to do what they do best, speak their minds boldly. To suggest that their earnest opinions are tantamount to Russian propaganda is not only dishonest, but a besmearing of views commonly shared by a huge swath of Americans. In fact, even during this period, I maintain, I think Putin's a dick. I think he's more than a dick. I think he's a bad person. And there's a lot of people like, Tim, you got to understand, no, they're not. Vladimir Putin wants control. He wants to bring back the Russian Federation. He wants the Soviet era back. He's mad they lost, and he should not have invaded Ukraine. And he is using force because he's desperate and losing. And you can take a look at what Russia's done in other regions. Vladimir Putin is not a good dude, and he's not taking any moral and just actions, period. And I've always maintained that. And I'm no fan of Zelensky in Ukraine either. I don't think we should be involved in that, but I digress. In any case, due to the political nature of Garland's press release, our story quickly made international headlines, and we were falsely labeled spies, propagandists, and even traitors. We wanted to set the record straight, but it immediately became apparent that any attempts to challenge the Biden DOJ resulted in threats of arrest, charges, and potentially prison. And so, out of fear of being separated from our children and under the advice of counsel, we chose to remain silent until we could be sure that speaking out would not result in further judicial or extrajudicial punishment. Though there were never any criminal charges, much less convictions, due to the widely publicized investigation, all of our professional contracts were promptly dropped. We were deplatformed from YouTube, TikTok, Discord, Google. We and even some of our family members were debanked by several financial institutions. We were forced to move due to death threats. Our work-based immigration visa, which was torpedoed by the actions against our company, was not renewed. The Canadian government also seemed to have opened their own investigation into us, following the highly publicized American case. And of course, we quickly amassed legal fees well into the 6 figures. In March of this year, due to high blood pressure caused by chronic stress, I was induced and delivered our daughter. Despite the circumstances surrounding the pregnancy, she is happy and healthy. She is a happy and healthy baby and has been a light on our lives during these difficulties. Thanks be to God. In April, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York informed our lawyer the investigation into us and our company had finally been closed. This news provided us with some relief, but it soon became clear that although we weren't criminals, the SDNY had no interest in restoring us to where we stood before the investigation began, though they could easily do so. Maybe some lawsuits are in order. The Tenet Media YouTube channel was deleted. There was never any evidence. There was never any published evidence. And I can already hear the liberals saying, in the indictment, they said this. Indictments aren't evidence. The indictment claims they have evidence and offers up conjecture. I'll give you an example. So in some of the claims they made, one, they tried to make it seem like the amount of money we're receiving was shocking, and the media frames that way, despite the fact it was actually on the low market end for a show of our size. 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. So the goal, in my opinion, in all of this, was rigging the election, setting up a narrative that Russia was playing this dirty game so they could stop Trump from winning. It failed, and then they abandoned. They say it was closed in April. Probably that's when it was closed. I'd say this several times, and this is what's fascinating. The media, the AI chatbots, the narrative machine will not acknowledge that this case is closed, even when I, someone who is directly involved, have stated on the record, our legal team has informed us in December, the case was done. It was over. It wasn't, my understanding is it wasn't formally closed until April.
Yeah, but people still like to do the conspiracy theories that, oh, Tim Pool, he worked with the Russians, but he's being super transparent about this. But then I guess people that don't like Tim's politics is going to be like, well, he's just lying about everything that makes him look good. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Good one, Destiny.
April, upon reading this, what I was told, I may have said something to the effect it was closed in December. I was told by my legal team that the case is, I want to be careful because I don't remember the exact words they used. But in a lengthy conversation, to which I was extremely upset, they said, it's over. There's no case here. Nothing's being pursued. Thank you and have a nice day. Final invoice. You don't need us anymore. I was never under investigation. What had happened was I told my lawyers, I had two legal teams, we are going to assist them in whatever they need to get to the bottom of this. You know why? Because I know if this went to adjudication, it would prove it all to be a lie. It was rigged from the start. And that's why, of course, they never actually pursued it. Because it was fake the whole time. The DOJ used this assumptive manipulation. That is, let's say I want to accuse you of working with the cartels. And I'll say, this man received money from the cartels. I'm allowed to say that because it's an accusation. I can say, we found bank transfers that lead us to believe this individual took money from Tren de Aragua. What's our proof? Well, in one message, the man was talking about financing and funding and sent this message, I need money. Reach out to Tijuana and ask them what time it is. Boom. How's that for proof? That's called assumptive manipulation. We don't know the context of those messages. And I've maintained this the whole time. Guys, we don't know. They're just framing it how they want to frame it. Well, the case is formally closed as a statement from Lauren Chen. And I'll say, what's the proof? Her lawyers, she was silent the whole time because her lawyers wouldn't allow her to talk about it. Duh. So here we go. Now, I mean, some people ask me, Tim, you're friends with people in the administration. Hit them up and ask them to make a formal statement or whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe if I see them. Maybe. Let me read more. She says there would be no similar press release absolving us of the very public and very serious allegations that have been made against us. There would be no help clearing our names with the Canadian government. They would not restore our visa status. And predictably, despite a lack of charges or conviction, our financial assets, all our savings would not be returned. We have lived humbly this past year, both due to financial woes and public vilification. We have had very little certainty about what our future as a family would look like because my American visa was contingent upon our company. We had no choice but to leave our home and children's place of birth. We were doing everything in our power to get a new visa and return home. Sadly, we also lost some people who we believed were our friends, but more notably, we were pleased to have quite a number of our colleagues reach out with words of support. Some even published videos are posted in our defense. I am humbled to say that there are too many to thank individually. We have also received many kind messages from our audience during this time, and I cannot thank you all enough. Your messages of support, which have continued to come even though I've been gone from public life for a year now, never failed to bring tears to my eyes. No criminal charges were ever actually brought against myself, my husband, or our company. The legal investigation has been quietly closed. Despite this, the road ahead of us is fraught with difficulty and uncertainty. I wish this were...
The wild thing is that it was quietly closed. Like, what? That's just so bad.
Deal was over, but our struggles continue as we fight to correct the many ways that our lives were upended. To that end, as some of you have kindly suggested and offered, we are now seeking help to cover our still growing legal fees in our effort to return home. Any support is greatly appreciated, and we look forward to getting back to content creation and our lives soon. There's a Give, Send, Go that Lauren has launched. Help Lauren Chen fight the DOJ. Where and when I can, I will speak with those that I know in the administration, and I want evidence. Now, what I can say is this. I don't know exactly what the DOJ had or was doing. Maybe I've heard speculation about how there are theories that there are still many questions. I'll put it this way about the financier behind Tenet. Lauren's not made a statement about that, and the weird issues surrounding that. What I can say is this: we have lawyers. So I said it before, but I'll say it again. A lot of people are like, "How did Tim Pool, Benny, and Dave not vet these claims?" Because we had lawyers who did all of this, and it all appeared to be on the level. And I'm a creative for the most part. I don't manage, you see, the day-to-day operations for the most part. As CEO, I oversee and say, yes, no, maybe, try it. And then we have operations and managers who carry out the daily tasks and actually handle these things. When it came to the negotiations for this and literally everything else, hey, we have a deal with Rumble. You want to know how that went down? Our lawyers went over the documents and went back and forth with them. And I'm like, let me know what makes sense. They come to me and say, here are the terms. I say, okay. So I don't know. All I know is Dave, Benny, me, the employees, actually had legal teams vet all of this, and it was common. It was nothing weird about it. But you see, what they do is they falsely frame it. They say $100K an episode. Oh my God, Tim Pool is getting paid how much to spread Russian propaganda? It's never been true. It was just lies because Democrats are evil. Now I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's so bad. And now look, like literally, like the whole Destiny community, the whole left community, like Tim Pool's like a meme. Like, oh, whenever you mention him in that community, it's like, oh, Tim Pool. Oh, you mean the guy that got paid by Russia, the Russian spy? What? You listen to that guy? What? Like they don't even like engage at all. Like everyone just believes that. So I'm literally gonna do what Destiny does. And just be like, label every person that says, oh, Tim Pool, you actually believe that conspiracy theory about Tim Pool? Like, that's every single time. Which, I did that to someone, and it kind of broke their brain a little bit. Like, like, they had no idea. They just meme it. And then when I actually pressured them on it, they're like, well, actually, I don't really think he actually, like, tried to get money from Russia. I just, like, it's just a meme, guys. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Good one, dude.
I sit here and say Republicans are saints. But holy crap, are Democrats evil? They lied. Why? Because they can't control the grassroots organic messaging. Started this channel on my own, built up revenue, dodged bans and censorship. They censored me like crazy. And we navigated our way through this despite the fact they hated what I had to say. When I challenged the Twitter CEO and their lawyer, they hated it the whole time. But there was a challenge and strategy of how do you ban individuals like me. Never broke the rules, always said, you know, hey, look, challenged the narrative, fact-checked where I could, corrected the record when the media lied, called out their manipulations, and they said, smear them in other ways. And so, Tenet Media was a Tennessee-based company run by someone I had known for 10 years who worked for The Blaze and TPUSA, and they offered up a middling licensing deal, which the reason why we were like, okay, that makes sense, is because we still had the opportunity to monetize in certain other ways. And so they had certain ad rights in certain areas, and they wanted the live show, and all of it made sense. And then the DOJ came out, and with nothing but conjecture, besmirched all of our names and lied. The media and the Democrats gleefully, with demonic grins on their faces, spread false accusations about all of us. And then the DOJ dropped it almost as quickly as they started. Now, here's my opinion. I believe there was never any intention from the DOJ to actually pursue any of this. In fact, speaking with my lawyers, maybe I shouldn't say too much about what my lawyers are saying, but they were like, Tim, you realize no one even knows if these Russians exist. There's no way to prove they're real. They're in a foreign country that no one can even go to and track down. The DOJ has effectively issued an indictment against John Doe, and none of this can or ever will be proven. And I'm like, our involvement was for the purpose of, we are going to make this come to.
So why did the DOJ underneath Biden make this public when they knew for a fact that even if they did find anything, you're not going to be able to prosecute anybody? Why'd they do that? Sounds like something that happened with Trump. That someone was making an argument about against Trump. Where did I heard this before? Where did I hear that argument before? How did I make that argument? It's almost like someone else made this argument against Trump one time, and now I guess we're just gonna pretend that argument doesn't exist because Tim Pool bad, I guess.
And then around December, they said, there is nothing to pursue. There is no case. They're not doing anything. Here's your final invoice. There's nothing more we can help you with. And I was pissed. And I've said that. In interviews since then, I'm like, they dropped it. It's gone. Lo and behold, Lauren confirms in April it was formally closed. They never even tried.
Yep.
What we are dealing with in this country is a sick, twisted, authoritarian, psychopathic cult. And they will destroy you. They are the Stasi. They are the secret police.
Tim
They will
Pool's
seek to
mad.
destroy your lives and everything you do so they can beat, berate, and control you. And we have seen the damage and destruction they have wrought on this country.
So, I mean, this rhetoric, I wouldn't be this extreme. I would be like, well, I mean, it was very scummy what they did to Tim, but I wouldn't bother over-exaggerating. Like, you don't need to be like, oh, they're going to beat you down. Like, no, we don't need all that extra fluff, Tim. But I understand how you feel, and honestly, I'm way more sympathetic to you than I am to any of the other people that smear you, and I will defend you on that point all the time. But I guess the other side is like, well, Tim Pool's just lying. No, then why? If he's just lying, then why wouldn't the government just like? It's just stupid. It's like you can. If the argument is, oh, he's just lying. Oh, okay, then I guess everything that Joe Biden said that makes Joe Biden look good about the whole Hunter Biden situation, he was just lying too, I guess, right? And how are you going to disprove that? Like, it's just
and so
stupid.
far be it from me to tell Donald Trump.
Like, just calling Tim a liar isn't persuading anybody.
I'm the worst of it with this Russiagate garbage. But it's always been a lie. So let me just say this. In the event, I have no idea what Lauren Chen did behind the scenes or who this financier guy...
And see, the difference between him saying that it's just all been a lie, like, we literally have a statement from this person where, oh, how do you know it's a lie? Well, they literally dropped it. Like, within the first month of, like, announcing the indictment and then dropped it. And now the person that actually legitimately got indicted, her, because she was one of the co-founders, said that it's been dropped after, like, a year because, like, they still needed to make sure with their lawyers and stuff to if they can even say anything about it. Like, this is, I guess they could just be lying. I don't know why it took them a whole year to spread a lie, but okay, that makes no, like, it's just stupid. It's just, like, yeah, whatever.
May or may not be. What I can tell you is...
But what I'm going to say is that whenever people say, oh, Tim Pool, you mean the Russian guy? I'm like, oh, so you believe that conspiracy theory? What happened? Like, I thought you were above that. Like, what happened? Why are you doing these conspiracy theory things now? Or are you just making fun of people being conspiracy theorists all the time? Like, it's just wild.
Timcast is and always has been editorially independent. I decide what the narrative is. We don't fire people for their opinions. We have had people here who are pro-Israel, anti-Israel. We've got Shane Smith. I'm sorry, not Shane. Shane Cashman. We were talking about Vice yesterday. Shout out to Shane Smith, though. This podcast is doing pretty good. Shane Cashman, who rags on Elon all day, every day. Me, I'm a fan of Elon. I'm not going to fire the guy because he has his opinions I don't agree with. I respect that he has opinions I don't agree with. So when he posts on Instagram and he insults and mocks and rags on Elon, I say he's allowed to. He's allowed to. And maybe Elon will be like, I'm not going to go on Tim Pool's show. He hires people who hate me. Yeah, well, so be it. Gavin McInnes was on the show last night. He's one of the founders of Vice. And I was saying that I talked to Shane Smith about maybe going on his podcast, and he said, yeah, we'll get you on some point.
Worst narrative.
Gavin goes, not now.
They believe their conspiracies are just fine. Funny that.
Yeah, they justify as, oh, it's just memes. But yeah, your meme is based on a whole based on a lie. Basically, it's based on a lie. Are you guys gonna change that? No? Oh, because you don't like Tim? Oh, okay, that's good. Like, it's just, I'm still gonna spout out that they just believe in, like, when it comes to Tim Pool and stuff, they just believe conspiracy theories. Like, boom, like this video right here, we're gonna copy the video itself, because like this needs to be saved. Stream videos, boom, enter. There you go. Now everyone in the Discord can watch it.
Oh, not if you're having me. And I laughed. Oh, okay, I don't care. Bro, I am not going to tell a guest they can't come on the show because someone else in some other show is going to tell me I can't come on their show. Get out of here. Play your games. I'm not saying Shane actually did that. Maybe I'll be honest.
Tim. Maybe Destiny was just lying about this. Actually, no. Destiny was definitely lying about this because he's playing this whole, like, Destiny thinks that Tim lies. So whenever Destiny talks about Tim Pool, he's probably lying because he wants to play the same game that everyone else is playing, or that he perceives that other people are playing. And since Destiny perceives Tim as being a liar, he's going to lie about him, because if Tim Pool's lying about Destiny, then I guess Destiny should lie about Tim. But obviously one side isn't lying about the other, but it probably is true that Tim doesn't have Destiny on his maybe not Tim himself, but maybe the people that do the booking, they blocked Destiny from coming on to their show. That's probably what ended up happening, and they just didn't give the up and up on Tim, or Tim wasn't even thinking about. Like, Destiny's the last person Tim is even thinking about right now. But you should have Destiny back on. Honestly, have him back on. Show that he's wrong. Prove that he's wrong. I want to see it.
The show, I don't know, but my point is, I am not going to play these stupid games. No one tells me what to think or say. Right? They lie, they cheat, and they steal. But you know what? We're winning. We're winning. And so shout out to Lauren Chen. I hope she can get through this and get past this. You know, I'm in a middle ground to an extent. Because obviously, would it have been that
So now we know that the whole... I mean, I'm just repeating what I said, but like basically we're at the end of the video. Like now we know that the whole freaking Tim Pool Russiagate thing, oh, they took money from Russia. Yeah, that was just a smear. That was a smear campaign. It's because like, why bring something up publicly and then literally have no way of getting those people in the first place? And then dropping the case without actually formally saying that you dropped the case. Like the only reason they know that the case has been dropped is because, well, a year later, Lauren Chen said something, but Tim Pool's lawyers literally came back and said, yeah, there's no case. They're not doing anything anymore, so have a nice day. Like, there's nothing, like, there's nothing else for the lawyers to do, so we're not going to charge you for a defendant when the guy that was trying to attack you isn't attacking you anymore. Like, it's kind of wild, actually. But they do that silently. Like, what was the point of doing that? Obviously, it was like a smearing type of thing. And it's happened underneath Joe Biden, DOJ. They, they said in around April, right? Was that before or after the first presidential debate? Before or after the first presidential debate? I forget. When Joe Biden had his first and last debate and everyone realized that he was like garbage. Because if it was after, that's probably why they ended up doing this. I mean, it works both ways. You can kind of like rationalize it both ways. Because like, if it happened before the first debate that Joe Biden basically got destroyed in, if it happened before that, then actually no. Well, it makes more sense if it happened after, because after they saw this terrible performance, they needed to pull out all the stops of like, all right, now we need to smear all the people that like Trump, so let's do it because Biden cannot win because of this. We need to do the anti-Trump propaganda. So the influencers, they have to be, we gotta use them against them. Like, but I don't know. I think the debate happened after, so maybe that's not really true. Or you can't really use that as like a theory. But yeah.
He lied about the funding source and tricked us into, this is what our concern was. If the narrative was true that she knew she was getting money from Russia or in some...
Ooh, this is good. This is good. We gotta watch. So these two videos, ooh, we got the 3-hour one with, cause we're done with that. Tim is just gonna do his ending. But, and Tim, he rambles a lot, so I'm good. I'm good, Tim. I'm good. I wear the beanie because of you, Tim. We don't need to keep watching the rest of your video. Or we can watch this, the 2 days ago, or we can watch the Pisco 23 hours ago, which, ooh, this isn't only an hour. Ooh, you know what? Let's just watch it. Because the dark money thing was actually pretty damn good. And Destiny confronts her, basically.
I'm Taylor Lorenz. I'm a journalist. I cover the content creator industry and online influence.
Okay. So obviously you've written an article that's blown up quite a bit on the internet, caused a lot of people some grief, me included, who are upset. And then obviously you've got a lot of favorable coverage from...
You weren't in the program though, right? You weren't in the program.
I don't know. Was I in any of the documents? Maybe I was one of the dark money recipients, No, I wasn't personally, but I would say I'm on the same team as a lot of those people. So
Worse nary.
One of the things that I'm
did go well, he. Winky face.
Yeah, I like how it's framed as Destiny confronts leftist journalist on her Wired article, and he frames it as if Taylor Lorenz. Actually, this is I would actually agree with that, because people on the left and people on the right are uniting and being like, hey, we need transparency here. True.
Curious about, I guess the first question before we dive into it.
Oh, wait,
is,
you couldn't see it.
One of the
Yeah.
questions has been posed a lot by,
Like, first I thought it was going to be the alt-right because they're getting, or some, the thing that I would have a problem if it was not leftist and if it was on the right, because this person isn't a righty, she's a lefty. But this was properly, accurately titled. Sometimes Destiny would exaggerate it and make it seem like it's way worse than it actually is or something like that. But I think this is a pretty good watch.
Is why not ever publish any of the contracts themselves? Because it feels like, obviously, there have been a lot of creators now that have come out and responded saying that a lot of the claims weren't true. I think
And I feel like in this video, Destiny doesn't really make an actual like argument. He kind of just says, well, this kind of feels bad in a way, and she's like, well, think of it this way, and then Destiny can't really like rebut it because his argument is that it feels bad, and now she's like, well, this is why it shouldn't feel bad.
Applied to them that the replies aren't necessarily rebuking anything you've said, but I'm curious, why not just publish like parts
It's
of the
such a good question. Oh, it's such a good question, and it's something that I get all the time. You know, when I reported, for instance, on Mr. Beast's years ago, before all the Mr. Beast stuff came out publicly, I wrote a big cover story for the New York Times about Mr. Beast's labor practices and these really restrictive NDAs he was signing people to, and some of the other stuff. And you heard the same thing from like, publish the receipts, like publish publish the contracts. And this is something like I think people have gotten used to because of social media and because most of the sort of content that they're consuming is maybe through YouTube or through like social media content where there's this like receipts culture, right? Which is great in a lot of ways, where people are sort of showing evidence on screen as they're talking about things. So I wish I could publish like 100% of our reporting material. I feel that way about all of my stories. But we have sources. So in order to report this story out, and how I originally found out about the story is actually from people in the program themselves. So people in the program reaching out and being like, hey, I feel weird about this. I think you should write about it. Like, I'm part of this program, but I want to essentially like be a whistleblower and kind of like draw attention to some things that I have problems with in the program. So we have to protect these people's identities. And one thing that we heard from one of our sources is that the contracts themselves might be watermarked with weird spacing. And so there might be some identifiable things like that, which is something that's totally common, by the way. Like, companies do this all the time. They actually do this with internal emails as well. So, whereas we used to get these things, especially in tech journalism, you'd like get these emails like, ooh, internal email from Meta, like here it is, screenshot. Now companies have gotten smart to that. Obviously, if you're a company, you want to know who's leaking your stuff. And so they'll put these weird little things in like an extra space here or something here that sort of differentiates each thing, each sort of like person's contract or person's email or whatever to make it identifiable. So we just want to be really careful and protect our sources. That said, many people at Wired reviewed the contract. We had a lawyer go through it, of course. Like, no one's disputing what's in this contract, and nobody has been able to disprove what we've reported on. So, for instance, these creators that are like, well, that's a lie. Our contract doesn't say that. They also have not published the contract publicly. But what they could do, even if they didn't want to publish the contract publicly, is they could go to Wired and say, here's the real contract. It doesn't say what Taylor's claiming. And of course, they haven't done that because the contracts actually do say, our story is factually correct. So I know that there's lots of misinformation about this story. And I do think people have taken, I think a lot of people also, because it's paywalled, are making a lot of like wild assumptions, like based on the story, to sort of speculate on a lot of things. But I would encourage people to actually read the story, because it is pretty straightforward, where we're just reporting on sort of like what the contract says, if that makes sense. But that's why we can't just come on and not just by the way, our reporting wasn't just based on the contract, right? We also had recording of an entire Zoom call where all of this was discussed. We have screen recordings of all of the group chats where all of these influencers were discussing the contract and discussing the program and discussing the nature of the program. We have internal emails from the company about the contract and about the program. We have negotiation. We have copies of receipts of emails and text messages during the negotiation process. So we have a lot more than just the contract. And of course, we have the testimony of the people that are in the program themselves who have spoken to us. So we have a lot of reporting. But yeah, unfortunately, that's how a lot of journalistic institutions are where we are not like operating by the same principles as I think like the way the rest of the internet does. But I wish we could, because I totally understand people wanting to see the contract. And that's why I've encouraged these creators to share the contract. I think it would dispel a lot of misinformation on their on everything.
Gotcha. Okay, so here are a few questions. So the first question is, if you had to guess, how many of these contracts do you think you saw or got to read through?
A few. I mean, there's a few tiers of the program, right? So, and we talk about this. So and we have contracts for multiple tiers. So most of our story is focused around the highest tier paid version.
Yeah, the 8,000 a month, whatever one. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've seen all the contracts, for the different tiers and compared them as well.
Is it not trivial to just like open up two contracts and look at them side by side, or overlay them to see if there's like weird spacing or watermarking that happens?
So there are slight differences, and and also there's identifying info in some of them. So yeah, that is what sort of originally made us a little bit nervous.
Because for the identifying info or for slight differences, so oftentimes for journalistic outlets, rather than showing you an actual thing, they'll show you like a reconstruction. So this is really common when people are reporting on text messages, for instance. You're not actually seeing a picture or a screenshot, but they can reconstruct the text in a program and then show you like what it would look like. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of things that would be put to bed for people's questions about some of the claims in this story is like just a reproduction basically of some of the clauses.
I would love to do that. I actually have advocated this for a long time, and it's so funny because this is something that people got really mad at me for previously when I said, like, I had a previous story about text messages, and I was saying, why don't we just write the text messages? And we do in the story, right? We do reproduce the text messages in the sense that we're quoting directly from the text messages in our story. So there is that. But I agree. I think it would be great. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that for whatever, this is ultimately editorial judgments. There's reasons why they don't show source material. But I agree. I would love that. I think honestly, the burden of proof is on the content creators. Like, they have not been able to provide a single copy of any contract that refutes our reporting. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for transparency. I don't know if you remember my interview with...
Just a real quick thing. So I feel like in terms of burden...
All right, so she answered the question. Destiny's question was, why don't you just release a contract? And she basically just said, well, we don't do that because there's revealing information in these contracts. So we don't just give out just the contract itself. And if we were to just make up a recreation of it, people are just going to accuse us of being like, well, actually, that's not the real contract. The real contract says this or X. And then there's really no recourse for that. Like, oh, why didn't you just give the normal contract? And then people would just be like, well, they're just using an excuse. We're like, oh, it has revealing information. Then why don't you just black out the revealing information? And then people will be like, well, now what are they blacking out? How can we trust that you're just blacking out the unrevealing information and you're not just blacking out things that just make you look bad? And so she answered the question and she gave a good response. And so let's see, where are we going from here?
Burden of proof, assuming that there's a standard NDA clause on any of these.
I had a single copy of any contract that refutes our reporting. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for transparency. I don't know if you remember my interview with...
Just as a real quick thing. So I feel like in terms of burden of proof, assuming that there's a standard NDA clause on any of these, you're not going to get in trouble personally if you publish any of these contracts, but the content creator themselves would probably have to be released from an NDA if they signed a contract. So they
No. Actually, maybe she might, but the company would be liable. If they would have published something and it came out that something like revealing information, like maybe an address or something like that comes out on the contract, or some sort of NDA thing that was supposed to be underneath an NDA is in the contract saying that you can't say the thing that you can't say, and you reveal that part of the contract, that you kind of just broke the NDA of that contract, because you just the NDA, obviously the NDA says what you're not supposed to say. So if you publicly show the thing that you're not supposed to say, you're breaking the NDA by releasing the contract, which, I mean, there's a lot of legal issues that the company would fall into that could get sued over if she were to release the whole thing. Like, that just logically makes sense.
Well, Brian Tyler Cohen is in charge of it. Like, Brian Tyler Cohen and these other creators, some of them are all stakeholders in Chorus. So they and they continue to say that they have not been able to provide a single copy of any contract that refutes our reporting. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for transparency. I don't know if you remember my interview with...
Just as a real quick thing. So I feel like in terms of burden of proof, assuming that there's a standard NDA clause on any of these, you're not going to get in trouble personally if you publish any of these contracts, but the content creator themselves would probably have to be released from an NDA if they signed a contract. So they would be in trouble,
Brian Tyler Cohen is in charge of it. Like, Brian Tyler Cohen and these other creators, some of them are all stakeholders in Chorus. So and they continue to say that this is a public program. So, they're free. If they feel that we are not representing the contracts correctly, put them online and let people decide. But so far, they have not been able to disprove that.
Would that be the standard, though, that like if anybody writes a story or makes a claim about a particular company's contract, then that company is always forced to publish their contract to disprove?
No, they could just reach out. No, they could just reach out to Wired and say, hey, you guys misrepresented this, XYZ, and Wired obviously has the contracts, right? So they don't have to do it publicly. They can do it behind the scenes. But they haven't done that either. And so I think that's the thing, is that they have just been...
What? They haven't done that either privately? What? Why is this the standard? Well, it's not the standard, Destiny. They could just do it privately and no one could know. But they didn't do that either. And actually, if they did do it privately, then I don't think she would be able to even say that they did it. Well, I mean, I guess she couldn't get into detail, but she could say that we did some private stuff too. But I don't know.
Unable to refute any of the facts of our story. And I understand, like, it's frustrating for them, but the few, the bits of information that have come out rather have confirmed our reporting. But yeah, I mean, if they aren't going to do it privately and they aren't going to do it publicly, I don't know what else to tell them. But
True. They aren't going to do it publicly. I feel like a lot of creators have come out and have there have been several claims I think that have been explicitly refuted by Brian Tyler Cohen, by David Pakman.
Well, they can refute them, but they have no proof to refute. So they can go online every day and say that the sky is purple, or whatever they want to say. But
True. Actually, I like this person. She's basically calling them a liar, but in the nicest way possible. Like, they can say whatever they want. That doesn't mean what they're saying is actually correct, which is true.
But we deal in facts here. And so we are dealing with the facts of our reporting and the facts of our source material. And so if they provide counter, if they can debunk something, or they could say, hey, that's not what this says. Here's what it says. Of course, Wired is happy to look at that, but
if I
they
say
have not been able to do that.
Let's say that I say that you wrote, I don't know if you're formally hired by Wired or if you do freelance, but if I were to make the claim, oh, Taylor has a contract with Wired and they have a clause saying that anytime Taylor publishes, she has to use the word and 47 times in her story. Now, you need to disprove that. How would you even disprove that claim? Would you just have to publish your entire employment contract? How would you disprove the claim that there's not a secrecy clause, or disprove a claim that there's not content direction given by the company? I don't even know how you would begin to disprove that claim.
What do you mean begin to disprove that claim? You just go to her privately. Like she said, go to Wired privately and say, hey, you're lying about this. Can you fix this? And then Wired would have been like, okay, we'll put up a retraction. And they did do that. As soon as they published the thing they tried to get, there was a company that they were trying to get a comment from, but the company just wasn't responding to Wired at all. So they ended up once they published that writing, that piece, and it went live, all of a sudden the people that they were trying to get comment for started being asking to actually produce or give a comment and stuff like that. And then they updated the published thing, including the new comment that they finally gave out. So it's like this. It's not like they're doing anything wrong here.
Beyond
publishing the
entire contract.
What are you talking about? Wired has lawyers. They have people that review the contract. And if these content creators want to dispute anything in our story,
look at the crazy.
Look
at the crazy making that Destiny does. The crazy making when he knows that he can't win the argument. This is the type of argument he does, and it's very sleazy, and it's. I don't like it. It's bad. It's a very bad faith type of way of debating, and she's smart enough to see it right through it. Like the way that she was like, what are you talking about? Why are you saying it like this? Obviously, they can refute it. I already told you they can do it privately. Why are you pretending that there's no way to do it? I already gave you a few options.
With the facts of our reporting and the facts of our source material. And so if they provide counter, if they can debunk something, or they could say, hey, that's not what this says. Here's what it says. Of course, Wired is happy to look at that, but
if I say
have not been able to do that.
Let's say that I say that you wrote, I don't know if you're formally hired by Wired or if you do freelance, but if I were to make the claim, oh, Taylor has a contract with Wired and they have a clause saying that anytime Taylor publishes, she has to use the word and 47 times in her story. Now, you need to disprove that. How would you even disprove that claim? Would you just have to publish your entire employment contract? How would you disprove the claim that there's not a secrecy clause, or disprove a claim that there's not content direction given by the company? I don't even know how you would begin to disprove that claim beyond publishing the entire contract.
What are you talking about? Wired has lawyers. They have people that review the contract. And if these content creators want to dispute anything in our story, they can reach out and they can say, hey, here's the proof that shows that this is false. But so far, they have not provided any proof that shows that our reporting is false. So I welcome them reaching out and showing proof that our reporting is false. But they have not done that. They have not done that publicly, and they have not done that directly, in the sense that they have not proven anything false. And so I just don't know what to tell these people other than this is months of reporting. We have, in addition to the contract, all of these other documents that back up the facts of the contract. And that's why ultimately there are no corrections on the story. Now, is there a lot of false stuff around the story that people have taken our story and sort of speculated on things? Certainly. And I hope that we can get into sort of debunking some of that. But in terms of the facts of the story remain. And I think you'll note too, I don't know if you go by Destiny or Steven on stream, but Steven, okay, sorry. one thing that they've attempted to do, since this has come out, a bunch of nonsense, right? Of course, they're going to make it all like they're going to start conspiracy theories about me and stuff. But one thing that they've done repeatedly is make this claim, well, Chorus is public. Chorus is public. So we've always been able to talk about Chorus. Here's the website. Here's whatever.
Oh, that's what you meant by Chorus. Oh, did he rip Chorus a new one? Oh, Chorus. Okay. Now I see what you meant by that Wartsenary couple chats ago. I have no idea who Chorus is.
No one is disputing that, right? Chorus, I myself have written about Chorus publicly before. There's an entire New York Times story by Ken Bensinger about Chorus that's public. So no one's disputing that Chorus is public. The unreported part and the stuff that our story focuses on is this funding system. And so that was the non-public part. And I think that is something to focus on. I think, look, if you want to debate the ethics of dark money, there is a debate around that. Some liberals feel that we should use dark money. Some liberals argue against it. Like, that is a debate. But I think what most people would agree on if you ask the public, and certainly this is what I think any sort of ethical expert would say as well, is that disclosure is really important. And if you are presenting yourself as a journalist online, which several of these content creators are presenting themselves as news sources or journalists, that you should be public about being part of a politically driven funding program, because that's just valuable for your audience to know. Just the way that, Stephen, if you were taking tens of thousands of dollars from some, I don't know, political effort or something, like, even if you say, look, they never gave us talking points, I don't have to disclose. You're right. You don't have to disclose legally. There's no legal reason that you have to disclose. But is it good for transparency to have this sort of, non-public money like flowing around our political media environment? I don't think it is. And so that is how some of these content creators felt as well. And that is part of why they reached out to us, is because they didn't feel comfortable. They signed the contract, but they didn't feel comfortable with certain things within it. And so anyway, and I'm very surprised, by the way, total side note, that they didn't preempt my story and just do some puff piece about, we're excited to announce some funding program, because it would have completely thwarted our story, but they didn't do that. I don't know why.
Sure. So, there's a separate discussion to be had about disclosure. I think my biggest issue is I feel like selective disclosure is worse than no disclosure, as in if only some people are forced to disclose and others aren't. I think that's not good. So I feel like the push should be towards changing the legal framework around what the reporting requirements are. Otherwise, you're just like basically playing from behind, because obviously like conservatives or other movements don't have to do any of this. But
100%. Yeah, of course.
Circling back on the, I guess like a couple questions just to nail that.
Remember, he's saying this as if she's like a right winger. Like, oh, why are you saying that the left needs to do that, but you're not gonna complain about the right doing it? And okay, then give us an issue where the right is doing it. Like that should have been the if she was a right winger, that would have been the correct actual response to that. Like, give me an example where this is happening on the right, where they're not disclosing stuff and they have their dark money thing and they're not being transparent or upfront about it. Like, that would have been the response to that, but obviously we didn't get that.
Down something. So the first thing is, you said nobody from Chorus or from the 1630 Fund or anybody associated with this, nobody has reached out to you or Wired personally to have a conversation.
Oh, they've reached out. Oh, not to me personally. They've reached out to Wired, but they've been unable to provide any facts that dispute our story. They've been unable to provide any evidence that disputes the fact of our story. But they've certainly responded. We incorporated their request for comment. I tried to reach them for weeks, right? And so as soon as we published the story, they gave us comment finally, and we incorporated that comment into the story, which is obviously something we would always want to do. We tried to do that before publication.
Gotcha. And then for the second part of that, so before this story went live, you're saying that you provided like full copies of the contracts to Wired's, I guess, legal team in order for them to go through to make sure that the claims in the articles comported with what they saw in the contracts?
Of course. Yes, of course.
Okay. So I guess a couple clauses, because some people have released like parts of the contracts publicly that they've gone over, and maybe,
I saw it's like some on Instagram or some video. A girl had
on TikTok and Reels, everything else. Yeah. So obviously, I'm not privy to the entire thing at this point, so I can't speak to any particular clauses. So I'm curious if there are other things that you saw, because there were some things that just didn't seem to be based on the things that I was reading. One of the big claims I think that was made in the article is the idea that you had to funnel all of your independent contacts through Chorus if you're going to arrange for like a meeting.
You had to loop them in. So you have to loop them in. So I think one thing that's interesting in that video that girl made, sort of disproving thing, number one, the email that she shows where she's reaching out to someone directly is from June 2nd, before the program even began. So it doesn't disprove anything. Now, you don't, according to the contract, you were supposed to use Chorus Newsroom to book engagements. Chorus Newsroom is this like internal tool or whatever. That just means that you're supposed to use that for booking things with lawmakers. Basically, they want you to loop them in on things. That doesn't mean that that they have like approval or disapproval or whatever. It just means that you're looping them in. And
so wait, why not? Because I'm curious, because I've signed a lot of these contracts. My background is in pro gaming, and I've signed a lot of influencer contracts. I've seen a lot of contracts. The language in the article was that creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. That doesn't sound like looped in. That sounds like you're basically handing over your political contacts to Chorus for them to
you
do.
are handing over your contacts, and that's what I think some creators were concerned about.
Well, but then you're also not just handing them over, but that like they have to then set up all of the meetings and arrangements. Like if you're funneling something through somebody, you're not just
right.
You're
doing it through Chorus Newsroom, right? You're doing it through their systems. And I just want to state, we don't, we're not making the claim that they blocked anyone from interviewing anyone, but I think this became
but they
a
would have
concern.
the ability to, based on the article, right? They could block you from doing it.
We don't know if they would or wouldn't do that, but I think the issue that the creators expressed
Wait,
to
just real quick, I'm trying to clarify because there's a big claim in the article. Not would, but they could. If you have to funnel it through them, it seems to imply that they could block you from doing some content if you independently organize it. No.
I mean, I don't know their systems, and I don't know if they would do that. I don't know. We didn't talk to anybody that had that problem. But the problem that the reason I think you're missing why creators had a problem with that clause, and creators that we spoke to had a problem with that clause, Stephen, because there's increasingly this problem really since the Democrats lost, but even through the election last year, where there's these sort of middleman type organizations that hoover up a lot of contact details and kind of insert themselves as middleman and get in between creators establishing these more direct relationships with these lawmakers' offices. And so I think some creators bristled, given what previously happened with Chorus one time where they did this event, I can't remember, it was for some Trump address in Congress or something. They had a bunch of creators come, the creators created the content, and then the creators felt like, well, Chorus is kind of taking credit for this content because they helped facilitate part of it, but I really want credit for the content. And so creators, at least in terms of like that funneling the booking stuff, I think creators felt like, I don't want to have to use Chorus Newsroom for booking. I don't want to have to share information with the Chorus network. Like, I just want to maintain, my own relationships, and I want to have this one-on-one relationship with the lawmaker. And now I have to be part of this bigger, this bigger ecosystem where suddenly, for instance, a smaller creator gets a big interview. I think their fear, at least what they told us, is like, well, what if some other bigger person in the program then, once Chorus is looped in, does the interview and that person gets more views than me or whatever. So I think it's, they sort of just, they felt like they wanted to maintain, they didn't want to have to book through, these systems. And
yeah,
again,
I understand. I guess the thing was just based on the clause that I had seen released from that, the three parts of it, that idea of them being able to be a blocker, or that you have to funnel anything through them. I didn't see that unless there was another part of the contract that didn't get released. I didn't see it at all. It says, right. And I think we can feel comfortable talking about exactly this specific language because one of the creators did post just this specific paragraph. So we can discuss the specific paragraph. But, it says book engagements. Chorus will provide contractors with access to the Chorus Newsroom, which coordinates booking engagements, right? Yep. Contractor agrees to 1, use Chorus Newsroom to book engagements. 2, disclose to Chorus Newsroom personnel any engagements with government officials or other topics related to Chorus's policy agenda. Very broad. I asked Chorus what their policy agenda is. We still don't know. That contractor arranges through other means. 3, collaborate fully with Chorus regarding all such separately arranged agreements. So, that to a lot of creators that spoke to us felt unnecessarily restrictive. They felt like, hey, I'm my own person. I'm fine being part of this incubator program, but why do I have to use their system to book all these things with lawmakers? Why do I have to loop them in on things and sort of funnel my contact stuff through them? I don't want to give them my contact info. I don't want to have to loop them in because I'm worried that someone else from the network is going to big dog me and, take my interview or do something else. So sure. So there are two things going on here. So one is from somebody that's been part of organizations and part of agencies and part of a bunch of other things. I think it sounds like the goal of the newsroom basically was to connect creators in the program to, I guess, like
lawmakers and things like
lawmakers,
that.
policy wonks, whatever else, right? So I feel like it makes sense that if I'm going to, let's say that I host an org and I have like 20 smaller creators and I bring them, and I have them introduce to Bernie Sanders or whatever, if I have an arrangement set up to where after that meeting, Bernie Sanders' staff is going to get 17 emails from creators saying like, hey, we just met you. Can we also do our own one-on-one thing? That nobody would ever want to be a part of the newsroom stuff. Like, you would never have access to any of that information because now every single time somebody's brought in. So it would make sense for newsroom related stuff that you would have to, at the very least, loop in or clue in Chorus with what's going on there, especially if they're the ones that have like reached out and made the contacts. I guess the issue that the only issue I have is on the paragraph is that like that funnel like heavily implies that you, the way that the article is written is that Chorus can block you from doing your own independent media, I guess.
We don't make that claim in the story, and I'm sorry if the word funnel sort of implied that to you, but we don't make that claim. So
I love that. Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm sorry if that word made you imply that. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Like, Destiny's just triggered by the specific words instead of actually like the overall like language of like what she's trying to like the overall point.
Stephen, you brought something up that I think is actually
I just
a
one
really
more quick
good
question on that. I'm sorry,
point.
and then you
okay.
You said okay because I don't know why, because you use loop chorus in on the next sentence. Why not just say loop in? Because I've never in my life heard funnel. Funnel always means you're handing the reins over to somebody else, right? Like
you are using their program to book it, but sure.
Well, but you can also book it on your own, right? Because the next sentence you have is that you can loop chorus in on any independently organized
loop them in.
Yeah,
right.
But loop in is not funnel. Those are two really different things, right?
Okay. So
wait, do you acknowledge those are two really different things? To loop somebody in versus to funnel it through?
I personally don't interpret it that way, but if you want to interpret it that way, you're welcome to interpret it that way. I think, again, this is another reason why it would be really helpful for these creators that feel that maybe, hey, that word wasn't 100% right or something, that they can release the contract and people can litigate.
True. When you're quibbling about whether they're using a specific word or not, like, do you really disagree, or do you're just arguing just to argue? Like, okay, you didn't like the word. Okay, let me use another synonym. Like, oh my God, she used the wrong synonym. All right, Destiny, that's your big claim here. Holy crap. We had an hour and 41 minutes of like, bro, you didn't use the right synonym, man. Like, it's just wild.
The specific language. But I think what you brought up, which is the bigger point in all of this, is exactly the experience.
And I like how she just concedes, like, okay, fine, you didn't like the specific word, or you interpret that word differently than I did, then okay, all right, that's fine. Maybe they should like publish the thing so that we can like get past this. Oh, they haven't? Oh, I guess we weren't factually incorrect then. Like, bro, that's her argument, and you're still just like we're basically boiling down to the argument where like he's quibbling on like which synonym we need to use. Like that's just funny to me. That's just funny. But I guess Destiny will be Destiny. Like when the Democrats look bad and with the dark money stuff, Destiny's arguments basically just boils down to well, you didn't use the correct synonym, man. And I'm like, okay, all right, good one, Destiny.
The situation that you described, right? You have 17 creators. Oh, now these lawmakers are going to get 17 different emails, whatever. Maybe Chorus is providing this service where they're going to loop everyone in, or they're going to, everyone's going to use this sort of one cohesive system and put it all sort of through one thing. So you're right? Like that there is an argument to be made for that type of system. And I've talked to a lot of lawmakers, especially on the Senate side, but also in the House, because the House has had a bunch of, the comms group there has like been doing a bunch more with influencers. And they like working with these intermediary groups because they're like, oh, our lawmakers' offices are inundated with all these people. We want to hand it off to a gatekeeper who's a middleman who can figure it out. Because we just learned that the YouTuber world existed yesterday. Yeah. So we can't evaluate all this stuff. We don't have the staff. So we like working with these third-party groups. So I think like Chorus especially has kind of become this like intermediary, again, helping these lawmakers. Like some of these lawmakers have spoken very positively of that service. But to content creators, it feels to some of these content creators that spoke to us that they feel like, oh, well, now we have this new middleman to get through, where I used to just be able to go directly to the lawmakers. And now I have to go through this middleman. And so there's been resentment towards not just Chorus. There's other groups that are seeking to, this is like a big new thing that all these groups are sort of seeking to do, is like establish themselves as middleman.
But then why, I'm curious, why do you think those creators then signed that contract?
Well, they signed the contract because they all have different reasons for signing the contract, but some of them disagree with things in the contract and tried to get out of different things in the contract. But
well, sure, but if you're signing a contract, there's going to be a give and take on any contract, right?
Sure.
Like if I get hired by a company to do some amount of work for $10,000 a month, I'm going to hate having to work. I'm going to like getting the money, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, you'd have to ask them. But I think it's interesting. I think what's interesting and like what interests me about that, like this clause that you're bringing up, is that especially if we want to like zoom out a little bit and look at the Democrats' media strategy, they've consistently relied on these kind of middleman groups. We had Village Marketing, of course, during the campaign, basically serving this very same purpose, where they're sort of filtering creators, determining who gets access to lawmakers, et cetera, et cetera. And I totally understand from the lawmakers, feeling that that's valuable. But more recently, and I talked to one lawmaker actually it's been a couple months ago, it was the White House Correspondents' Weekend. And this representative was telling me, you know what? I'm beginning to be suspect about some of these groups because I've been hearing from these other content creators that I actually would have loved to work with that they haven't been able to get through the gates of these groups. And I feel like maybe now I'm cutting myself off from other opportunities. And so some lawmakers...
I guess I don't understand that because anybody can email. I'm pretty sure all these comms people are. I know this because I've talked to some of these people. The comms people are on Twitter. Anybody can email. So I don't know how you can ever get cut off.
They're inundated. And so they're not... What they mean is that these lawmakers, and especially the House, which has established a lot more like, because there's so many of them, more of these sort of like middlemen, they just rely on the middlemen. So they're just like, you know what, we don't really take inbound. Now a lot more lawmakers are more open, especially people like Rokana and others. They are becoming more open where they're like, you know what, I might rely on this middleman for some stuff, but I'm also going to try to ensure that I hire staff that actually can evaluate these opportunities and even do more proactive opportunities to kind of develop our own direct relationship. And on the Senate side, Cory Booker has really done this, where Cory Booker himself has become the kind of middleman. And Cory's office has done a lot, actually, to help educate other members on the Democrat side on the Senate of who content creators are, how to work with them, how to evaluate these opportunities. And Cory's office has created a lot of shared resources to try to help empower them so that they don't just have to rely on these like third-party companies, which also are making money, right? And they don't have to like worry about that. So I think it's just interesting.
One of the things, I guess when I look at this,
strategies evolve.
Yeah, we keep using the word middleman, but like there's a value that these types of organizations are providing to both the lawmakers and to the streamers themselves. Yeah. But it feels like when we talk about whether you want to say loop in or funnel or whatever, like it seems like we're talking about this as though it's almost like predatory or it's preventing people from doing some things. But the reality is that Chorus is just protecting.
She didn't use the right synonym again. Oh, it's predatory. Well, she didn't use the word predatory, so okay, like that's great that you interpreted that way, but obviously that wasn't the way she wanted you to interpret it. Like, come on now.
Sheepish resonance attacked. Cheap viewers on stream.
Screw off, man. Screw off. Don't do it, chat. Don't do it, chat.
The business that it's in of being able to form valuable connections.
Which totally, from a business standpoint, I understand that. And from a business standpoint, they want to also capture, like what they also want to do is make sure that people aren't going off, that people are in this program, right? And that they're off capturing, like, you know, say you're in this program and you have these people making this content that ends up really successful, you know, the Chorus wants to capture that and be able to put that in reports and stuff. So I understand it. I think what I found so interesting about this specific thing is that there are all of these discussions right now happening on the House and Senate side about, because again, they've all sort of just discovered influencers like in the last 6 months of like, how should we handle this? Should we rely on these outside agencies? How much power should we give them? How, you know, who can we hire internally? Is it the digital team? Is it the comms people who, you know, a lot of requests come through the comms people, but the comms people really only deal with traditional media. And so that's what like Cory's team especially has really on the Senate side tried to kind of like educate people about. And I think on the House side, it's a little bit more of a free for all.
Yeah, so I understand all of that, I guess. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think that when you read the article is almost completely or overwhelmingly negative.
No, what Destiny's basically saying is that I don't like the frame of the article. It could be factually true, but why'd you frame it so bad towards the Democrats? Well, why did you make it like frame it better? Like, you should have framed it better, guys. I don't like it. I don't like how you framed it. You're correct, but I don't like how you framed it. That's basically what Destiny's argument. Wait, is that going to be his argument? Because I didn't actually watch the full thing. I think I watched like maybe the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but now I'm like, I don't know. Where is this going to go? Where is this going to go?
In regards to Chorus and its place and the connection they have between the
who, you know, a lot of requests come through the comms people, but the comms people really only deal with traditional media. And so that's what like Cory's team especially has really on the Senate side tried to kind of like educate people about. And I think on the House side, it's a little bit more of a free for all.
Yeah, so
but
I understand all of that, I guess. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think that when you read the article is almost completely or overwhelmingly negative in regards to Chorus and its place and the connection they have between the influencer and Congress. But Chorus in this way is just functioning as like the same type of talent agency or rep that exists in ubiquitously across every single agency.
It's interesting you bring up talent agencies and reps, Stephen.
Yeah.
Because these content creators, many of them also have talent agencies and reps. And so one drama that Chorus got involved in months ago was actually in relation to exactly what you're just describing, which I think is what you're going to say is like, this is what talent agencies and reps are doing. Like they have social good, you know, departments at WME or whatever, right? That can help set these things up. So Chorus, and not just Chorus, and we can use Chorus as like, you know, Chorus is an example of, there's also like, there's lots of other sort of like Chorus copycat type agencies that have cropped up.
Sure.
These talent agents and managers have become so livid with these middleman agencies because the middleman and I just say middleman because they are, I should just say agencies, you know, the managers and agents are also middlemen. Okay. It's middlemen against middlemen.
Sure.
But we have like these political groups where like, you know, Stewart, Brian, Tyler Cohen, like they're very much from the political world, the people that started Chorus. And then we have the entertainment world, and the entertainment world, they, for a long time, have already been in this space. And suddenly the political world is like, oh, this doesn't exist. We're going to set this thing up, right? We're going to serve this thing. And we already have these relationships with Congress people. So you're seeing a lot of clashing where the management companies and the talent agencies feel like, hey, how dare you go off and represent our creators? Only we represent our creators. And then also confusion on the booking side where they're like, well, I reached out to Chorus, but should I reach out to UTA? Should I reach out to what? Like, it's just absolute chaos. And I think...
hold on. I feel like this is dramatically over-exaggerated. There should be no chaos here whatsoever. So it's like, you know exactly quickly, when you're signing with agencies like this, the contract they're giving you generally gives them, if you're serious talent, they have the exclusive right to organize any type of paid sponsor activation, whatever type of event like that. Stuff that Chorus or these other political organizations cover. There might be some ambiguity there onto whether or not that would come under my UTA contract. But if I'm big talent or if I'm medium-sized talent, of course I'm just going to ask my UTA rep, right? I'm just going to shoot him an email or message him on whatever platform and say, hey, does this conflict with this contract? I don't know how this could be massive chaos.
So it was chaos. So first of all, you're talking about a talent agent contract, which is different, of course, than a management contract. What the chaos is that's happening is that many of these creators, especially if they're big creators, are signing up. They want to do political work. Some of these big creators, like, they're like, oh man, I do want to get more involved in politics. I hate that Trump won, right? I do want to get more involved in politics. So they'll sign up with one of these third-party things, sometimes not even getting paid, right? They're not even part of the paid course program. Maybe they just signed up for course because they want to do more stuff. And then the talent agents are coming in and being like, well, wait a minute. Like, we're the one to negotiate deals. We're the ones that have the exclusive right to sort of like represent you and negotiate opportunities for you and things like that. And so there's just this tension, which has, by the way, it's funny, we can talk about how the right has resolved. Like, the right had a version of this also that they dealt with. But I think that it just shows that, like, there's just a lot of sort of kinks to work out in terms of streamlining this process. And as the Democrats work to leverage more content creators, I think that it's interesting for me as a journalist to write about these different strategies and the way that these things are evolving. And so that's why I'm interested in Chorus, and not just Chorus. I've reported on the other groups too. And I have another story coming out soon about a whole other similar group. But they're all sort of jockeying for they're all jockeying for their own businesses and their own business interests, but also the lawmakers and the Democratic lawmakers that I've spoken to are also trying to figure it out. And they are sort of getting their sea legs. And so I think that covering this stuff is interesting. And if we want to look at the right by example.
Well, before I guess move on to that, so like I agree with what you're saying there, but the article, in my mind, like it just basically reads like a hit piece against Chorus. I don't see any of the redeeming or positive qualities. I think the only prescription I saw in the article when you quoted the whatever that person's name was basically that this group just shouldn't exist at all. Like no types of groups like this should exist.
A lot of these creators don't want any middlemen. So they don't want any.
But those creators don't need to have middlemen. They just don't sign with these groups, right? That's
that creator has they do have other middlemen. I mean,
but then why are they signing? Well, wait, but if they have them, I mean, then why are they signing with them? They don't have to, unless they're being held at gunpoint to sign the contracts, right?
And then maybe you should be criticizing those people instead of like talking to Taylor Lorenz. Like, she's not going to answer for them. Like, why are you? Okay, that's great. Good for you, Destiny. You didn't like the framing.
Yeah. I think the thing that struck to me, and this is not really what we're talking about here, but I think like the main crux of the article is not any of this stuff. Like the main sort of thesis of the article is that they took undisclosed money. And to me, that is something that people have a right to be concerned about, because Chorus is not unique in the sense that they are not the only ones, running these sort of influence campaigns, right? This has happened on the far right for years, although less so. They've gotten a lot more transparent. But like there's a lot of influence campaigns because of the lack of rules around this, like you said earlier, because the FEC is like out to lunch and there's no regulation basically in the influencer world. We are seeing just like a lot of these influence campaigns happening, and consumers aren't aware of it. And so consumers consume this content and they don't know what people are being paid. And that is very different from how traditional media works, because to all the problems of traditional media, there is a lot more disclosure.
Is there? Do I know like every single source of funding for like podcaster people or for like Fox News?
No. We're not talking about podcaster people. We're talking about journalists. So for instance, if you're a journalist at a mainstream media organization, you absolutely could never take outside political funding.
Well, not political funding, but like they could take sponsorships or whatever from other people.
No. If you work at a mainstream news organization, you cannot do any of that. And by the way, I'm sympathetic to the fact that like that
to me it's the daily and weekly talking points.
Daily and weekly talking points. What do you mean by that? They said so much. They said so much in that time when you said that comment. I'm not really sure what you're referring to, but it sounds like you're referring to something that they said before.
Too extreme. Like I do think that there's probably a happy middle ground where like maybe you can do stuff that's not directly related to your beat, et cetera. Condé Nast specifically on their fashion brands and women's fashion brands, women's media has evolved to the point that women's media organizations are actually negotiating contracts, SponCon contracts for their own.
Wait, can I just so I can be clear? So somebody who works at, say, who's like a host or talent at like Fox News couldn't be paid $5,000 to give a speech somewhere or something like that. They would have to disclose all of that. That's a legal thing?
Well,
or is that...
Fox, I don't know. Fox News does not have the same editorial standards as a lot of other mainstream media places.
Sure, but when you say editorial standards, that implies it's not a legal thing. You're just talking about like some standard or accepted practice at some companies.
Exactly, yes. So we're talking about mainstream traditional reporting, and I mean, maybe I should say reputable reporting, because I don't think Fox News has a great track record on reputable reporting. But if you look at the mainstream media places, even like CNN, I hate CNN, right? But CNN, New York Times, where I worked, and other places, the Wall Street Journal, all these other mainstream media outlets, Wired, they do have these clauses where, no, you cannot take outside money. You cannot do undisclosed things. You cannot do sponsorship deals on the side or, certainly not take money from a political group. You would be fired immediately and never hired again if you took undisclosed.
True. true. And I know that Destiny tries to make the argument where, well, why does it matter? Like the right takes money and sponsorships and stuff like that. Yeah, but like you're talking about people that aren't media people. You're talking about
Worse, Neri. Yeah, they get daily and weekly talking points from Chorus. So different voices, same words.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I don't know what is Chorus? What is Chorus? Let's look that up. Because she mentioned Chorus. They keep talking about Chorus. I don't even know what Chorus is. What is Chorus?
Course.
Okay, no, I mean a news agency? News? What course is news answer? What? No, not course. News agency. Agency. What is this? Oh my god. I'm spelling it wrong. I'm spelling it wrong. Okay. Okay. Chorus is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping content creators expand their reach and educate their audience about news and public policy. You know what? Maybe I should join them. Maybe I should join them. Donate. I don't want to donate. For media increases. Ooh, maybe I should join them.
Where's Neri?
Nah.
That's the one.
Okay. So that's the agency that they're talking about. Chorus is literally the thing that they're talking about. Chorus is the dark money place, I guess. Yes. All right. Where they're just not they should be upfront. Like Chorus is giving them money, but I guess a bunch of these people are just not disclosing that information, which is obviously a really big deal in the credibility of being a big media person.
Mostly left. Well, probably Connor at this point too.
Yeah.
Disclosed money from a political group. I should say reputable reporting, because I don't think Fox News has a great track record on reputable reporting. But if you look at the mainstream media places, even like CNN, I hate CNN, right? But CNN, New York Times, where I worked, and other places, the Wall Street Journal, all these other mainstream media outlets, Wired, they do have these clauses where, no, you cannot take outside money. You cannot do undisclosed things. You cannot do sponsorship deals on the side or, certainly not take money from a political group. You would be fired immediately and never hired again if you took undisclosed money from a political group and didn't talk about that. So I think that that's a level of transparency that actually most news consumers aren't aware of. They never realized often that was even something that that there were these editorial standards sort of behind the scenes. And I think as we move towards a more content creator driven ecosystem, it's good to have these conversations of what should be disclosed and when,
yeah,
right?
I think I could agree with that. Actually, I think there should be hardcore disclosure standards enforced in anybody that calls themselves media alternative or otherwise. But I didn't see any recommendations for that. It seemed like I think coming away from the article, the takeaway is just that this Chorus and 1630 Fund are operating in some especially nefarious or bad way, especially because I think you had at least two quoted people who were claiming that they were illegally murky at best or were being used to evade FEC restrictions, the Dubois quote.
That's what their lawyer said. Yeah, their lawyer said that. I think...
Well, wait. The lawyer just was explaining the law. That's
exactly.
different. But wait, not exactly. The thing that the Dubois...
He's saying there is no lack of disclosure. He's not saying hey guys, the rules exist and we're thwarting them. He's saying, guys, you don't have to worry about these rules because we're a nonprofit. We're structured in this way where don't worry, you don't have to worry about blah 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 disclosure. So I think this goes back to the crux of the problem, which is that we have an FEC that's asleep at the wheel. And I think no matter where you are on the political spectrum, although actually no, if you're on the right, you don't give a shit about disclosure. But if
I understand. But FEC,
right,
I think that we can definitely fight over how C4s are the disclosure.
At least acknowledge it, right? We want
at least. But again, I think the article
we should push these companies to acknowledge it.
The article seemed to explicitly target Chorus as being exceptionally bad here. So for the Elizabeth Dubois quote you were saying that the legal aspects were murky. Well, the legal aspects aren't murky. They're pretty clear. It's just that the legal aspects right now suck, right? The FEC guidelines that we have on this and the IRS guidelines kind of suck for this. So it's not that if you were to read that the legal aspect is murky at best, it makes it sound like Chorus is the one who's
So when I reached out to the FTC, yes. Well, I think what is murky is what crosses over to sponsored content, what crosses over to some of this. So I reached out to the FEC and the FTC about this, and I actually spoke to the former FTC person at length about this exact topic, because the FTC doesn't really cover political content, but people were there's some commercial activity where they feel like it can maybe some disclosure requirements can apply and all this stuff. The point is that like I don't fault, or rather, I think a lot of creators in this program are well-meaning. And I've said from the beginning, I don't think it's necessarily helpful to go around doing a witch hunt of, hey, you took the money, you didn't take the money, you did this, goes, whatever. The reason that we have this story is because creators in the program themselves were uncomfortable with this. I think
why is it then like because you painstakingly go out to like name creators and their platforms that are associated with it?
Sure, we included the ones that are relevant, right? That we think people should know. And I wish that we could include more. If it were up to me, I would publish the whole thing.
Yeah, but what's the point
Because I think people deserve to know. Well, I think people deserve to know who's getting money without disclosure, right? We want people to know who's getting money without disclosure.
Sure. The disclosure is not legally required, though, and
it's not. That's the problem. It's not legally required.
But there's no argument to make it legally required. There's just a targeting of this particular organization, acting like they're like in some special bad territory. Yeah.
Well, what this organization did is not value transparency. So there are other organizations similar to Chorus that do value transparency, that are nonprofits in the space that value transparency, and they say, listen, we're running. Ironically, we're running this paid thing for this political, we're running this like political effort for whatever, I don't know, whatever sort of political message they're pushing. We value disclosure. We want to make sure that you make it clear that you're, that you have a relationship with us or whatever. So a paid relationship. So I think what I would
so then it is kind of a witch hunt then though, right? Like if the goal is to out every creator involved in this particular thing, well, it's to witch hunt them out of this program, right?
Not out of the program. What we want.
Oh, so there was a whole witch hunt with 2016 and Donald Trump's like business practices and whether he was like a Russian agent, right? That was a whole witch hunt, right? Because they didn't find anything, right? So this is a witch hunt. That was a witch hunt, right? You're really going to use that term now? Like, are we just going to adopt this term?
We want these companies like Chorus to prioritize and center disclosure. And in fact, Stephen, what they have shown is that they continue to double down on lack of disclosure. They still will not publish the full list of creators. They still won't release these creators from their NDA. There are creators right now that want to speak publicly, but are not able to. And there are creators desperate.
I feel like so many people have gone live and spoken publicly about this. That seems hard.
No, they haven't. They've gone live and they've spoken only in the way that they're allowed to about Chorus specifically, but they're not speaking publicly about the sort of the nature of these other programs, or sorry, the paid nature of the program. And so what I think that Chorus should do...
Just to be clear, there have been people who have literally made videos saying they get paid by Chorus, they're in Chorus.
Now they have, yes, now they have, yes. But they're not talking about the aspects of the sort of non-disclosure. And that what I think would be valuable is for Chorus to say, listen, we value transparency. We realize that this program was not maybe as transparent as it should have been starting out. We want
should have been according to you, right?
Well, according to every ethics expert that we asked in media, and I think according to what the public expects from creators, which is a level of transparency where if you're going to take money from a political group for political purposes, you should disclose that. And so I think what Chorus could do to set a good example and to help build a more transparent political media ecosystem, which I think we all want. If we're somewhat on the left, we want more transparent, ecosystem in political media. Say like, hey guys, you are free to talk about this. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I was surprised that they didn't announce the program because even now they still
they have announced, right? Like, I think Brian Telecoin and I think David Pacman months ago announced that they were starting this program, right?
No, they didn't announce anything about the 1630 fund or any of the funding stuff. They announced that they were doing the public-facing program. Sure, that's never been a secret. That's on the website. But this private paid program was not announced. Of course, now it's all public since I've reported on it. But
didn't they have like the application thing like on the website? You could apply to join Chorus if you wanted to.
You could apply to join the public thing, but that wasn't the same as this like paid thing, which is private. So of course they're soliciting creators for it. There's one creator in the story, right, who's quoted who applied for it, who heard about it. It was spreading around, like creators themselves were sort of talking about it. But I think we need a lot more transparency. Another thing that
if the maximum transparency was like the goal, I feel like the easiest thing would then just to be to publish the contract, which if you've gotten several of them, you can compare them, you can see. Well, but why don't you do it? You're the one who wrote the story.
What do you mean? Why don't you? She said it multiple times. It's not her decision. And plus, it can reveal like personal information that doesn't need to be on the internet. Like, bro, like you know how NDAs work. Like, she's already answered that question multiple times. Why you keep pretending that she didn't answer that question?
I work at I work for Wired, and unfortunately, they that is their stance of not publishing the source material because they are concerned about potentially identifying stuff. I'm with you,
Wired
Stephen.
Tell you explicitly on this story that you were not allowed to publish. That was Wired's decision and not yours. That you weren't allowed to publish the contract.
We've made the decision that we're not going to publish the.
Howdy.
Hello, hi. Do not ask me about art. But hi.
source material.
Well, of course,
I
I know you've made that decision because it isn't published, but I'm asking, was it Wired that prohibited you from publishing it?
I'm willing to go back and have a conversation with the lawyer about it again. But what I would say, Stephen, is that Brian Tyler Cohen is a stakeholder in Chorus. If he feels that this story is false.
About art?
Yeah, I always get random bots being like, hey. About art? Yeah, I always get random bots talking to me about like, oh, hey, so I make this art for your channel. You want to buy a test piece? And I'm like, nah.
Where's Neri? I got to get. Have a good one.
All right, I'll see you later, Wartsnary. I know it's like super late for you guys. It's like what? Probably around 12 or something.
He could, we don't even have to do it publicly, right? He could go to Wired and say, here's the actual contract. Here's the proof that shows that your story is
selling shite, I get, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Scams.
Where's Neri? Cheers, 11 p.m.
All right.
wrong. And Wired would correct it. And Wired has not received any proof.
What's your thoughts on the whole Destiny himself, or maybe the whole dark money media for Democratic operatives?
So what's going on in here then?
Oh, we're basically just talking about, or we're just watching. I'm obviously enjoying my Factorio, but we're also we're looking at the they're just talking about the whole leftist journalist thing that dropped that showed that the Democratic people are getting, they're not disclosing their money. So it's just another piece of evidence that Democrats don't really, they don't necessarily show, or they're not really upfront with whenever they're getting paid to push a type of narrative and stuff like that. And Destiny doesn't like how that's framed, so he's literally arguing with the person that dropped the article. So
proof from any of these creators privately that it's wrong. And so Wired doesn't need to post like receipts or whatever to stand by their reporting. And what I would say to these creators is, if you are going to continue to say that it's a lie,
and I find it, I'm watching it because like,
where there is smoke, there is fire. He seems to have far too many examples of questionable interactions with underage girls. Think a good HDD check on him could be eye-opening.
All right. Could be. Yeah, but I don't. So like, I'm a weird specimen of a content creator. I don't really go after the easy stuff, the easy things to like go after Destiny with. I go after the more harder things, the more difficult things to prove. Like the inconsistencies that he has with like I don't talk about his personal stuff. I don't really care. Like, it's being litigated through the courts. Once the court comes out with whatever they come out with, that's when I'll be like, all right, I guess I'll condemn him. But before that, I just don't really care, because like there's a lot of false information about the guy. Let's just say that. So I try not to jump the gun when it comes to his personal stuff. But I will criticize Destiny when he's not making a good argument, because like Destiny's he's literally the debater person. His background is the debate bro person, and he's making his ultimate argument against this person right now is, well, I don't like how this is framed, so therefore it must be bad or wrong. You shouldn't have done this. And I'm like, no. What happened to the whole you give facts and then destroy them type of thing? Like, you're just giving a feelings-based argument that she doesn't even care about. And she keeps asking like, oh, why didn't you just like why didn't you just show out the contract? Why didn't you just show the contract? Why didn't you just show the contract? And she keeps answering like, well, like, we couldn't, because like it could reveal information that we didn't want to reveal.
The whole political debate area has become a wank fest of saying, I'm smarter than you, or you're dumb, etc. It's point-scoring bullshit.
Well, only on Destiny's side. Only on Destiny's side. Destiny's side is the only side that's calling the other side stupid or retarded. The other side is calling the other side, I guess, like evil, but then they say this is what they're doing that I think is evil. But then the other side is also being like, well, I mean, they're not really that bad. Like, sometimes they're not that bad. Like, let's see. Destiny is the only side that consistently just calls the other side stupid and dumb and doesn't really engage in any of their arguments, because Destiny's side doesn't think that they're actually making real arguments. So if he thinks they're not making real arguments, then there is no argument to like attack. So just call them dumb and stupid, and hopefully it'll work. I mean, I guess that worked for the 2024 election, right? Obviously it didn't. So if he wants to do that same strategy again, be my guest. But
publicly, then at least provide proof to, you know, the company privately to get
that's what Destiny's saying. I'm not saying you're saying that, but yeah.
a correction on the story. There's not a single correction on the story. And trust me, they would put a correction on the story. If we had proof myself, I mean, I hold myself to standards. Like, I would love to see proof, you know, that they like, hey guys, like all those contracts, everything else you got, all the Zoom meeting, that's all fake, whatever, you know, like, this is something
he
else.
Is the Alex Jones of the left.
Oh, he actually is becoming the Alex Jones of the left. So Destiny used to make fun of all the people on the right with the conspiracy theories. He would make fun of.
He is a character in its rage bait.
He used to be the type of person where he would make fun of like Alex Jones of like how all he does is conspiracy theories. But now Destiny, whenever he talks about Trump, like 50% of what he says about Trump is just a conspiracy theory. Like Destiny legitimately thinks that Trump was working with the Russians in 2016, even though they did a whole FBI investigation with millions of dollars of taxpayer money, and it came out that that wasn't true, but Destiny still thinks that actually happened. And I'm like, you're supposed to be the logic and facts and no conspiracy theories guy, but now you're litigating a conspiracy theory against Trump, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird.
Disputes it, like, sure, but they haven't provided any of that proof, privately or publicly. And I think that's because they don't actually care. I'm speculating here, but it seems to me that it's easier for them to respond to a story like this instead of, you know, making it about discussions around transparency. It seems to me.
Where do you fall on some of the big issues then? Israel, trans, Trump, immigration, etc.
Trump, I'm very sympathetic to because of how he's been treated. The trans stuff, as long as there's no kids involved, you can do whatever you want. Israel has the right to defend themselves against like attacks. The Gaza stuff, well, I'm not really as sympathetic for the Gaza stuff because if they didn't do October 7th, I probably would care a lot more what would happen to them. But there's zero justification for October 7th, so I'm not going to care about people that basically invaded another location and deleted people for no reason. Or they give a reason, but like I think their reasoning for kidnapping and deleting people is stupid.
Test. So by the mainstream media bar, you would be far right bordering a Nazi.
I guess. I don't really care for the labels, but if people want to label me that way, then that's fine. Like, I'm not a Nick Fuentes. Like, he's legitimately an actual Nazi because like he hates the Jews, but I'm much more sympathetic towards Israel, so I'm not. It's kind of hard for me to be a Nazi and be very sympathetic to Israel. Like, typically those two things don't really work together. I like to call myself an enigma.
That what they instead want to do is, or what they have done, is do all of these silly personal attacks accusing me of being friends with Tucker Carlson or other nonsense like this.
Now we have a rapper. How would you like to buy some art? Test. That was a joke.
Yo, bro, you know the pain I've been going through. Holy crap. Yes, that's literally what they would do. Now that we have rapport, would you like to buy some art? Bro,
I don't know if you've seen this online, but this is what Brian Tyler Cohen responded doing. And they've
that's definitely going to be a clip for a video I'm going to put out. That's going to be epic.
also been saying things
Well,
that aren't
Brian
in the
Tyler,
article.
I think he released a 5-minute video, and I think like 3 seconds of that was related to that. But the rest of that video was responding with
3
substance.
seconds.
It
Well,
was like 5
no,
seconds, he
there's-
did. The rest of
no,
the thing was him refuting a whole bunch of the claims that were made in the article. He didn't show the contract on screen, which I guess is what he
show
wanted
any
to do.
proof of what it. Yeah, he didn't show any proof of anything that he claimed. He also
But you
falsely
also haven't shown
claimed-
any proof of anything that you're claiming either, other than
I'm a journalist that published it in Wired magazine. If he wants to go,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
you also
Wait, What do you mean she didn't publish any proof? There's literally a whole article. Oh, there's no proof. She published a whole article. Read the article. Bro, that's
Test.
wild.
Not seen the art, but view botting seems to be the grift in chats.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, I've seen more of that lately. But, like, the more sophisticated ones is the art ones. Because, like, they literally try to talk to you as, like, you're a real person. Really try to get to know you. And then they're like, hey, so, I got this art that, I got this. I'm, like, an artist. And I see that your channel isn't really that, like, great and stuff. And, like, what games do you like to play? Even though you literally see the game that I'm playing. Like, they would ask the most dumbest questions. Like, so what games do you like playing as I'm playing Factorio? And I'm like, are you not, like, looking at the screen?
Chose not to publish the contract. That was your individual
But
decision,
again,
right?
it is published. My reporting is published in Wired. You're right. I could have gone on Twitter months ago and said, hey guys, scoop twitter.com. I'm going to publish receipts. Like, this is what a lot of people are used to.
Sure, you keep saying receipts like it's a social media term, but that's not true, right?
It
If you've been a writer,
is.
no, absolutely. There are absolutely stories that are published where tons of information is released publicly.
Sometimes the source material is released publicly. Sometimes in certain instances, and there is a whole.
In certain
and I can get into
instances
this.
where anonymity can't be guaranteed, but in an instance where you've received multiple contracts where you can compare the contracts from one to another to verify that the language
But
is
what we
unique from one to the
can't- but
other,
what
you
we
very easily
can't-
can publish the entire
No,
contract
so
without
what we
damaging any of the
can't-
individual creators, right?
No, so what we can't confirm, Stephen, and this might be what you're getting stuck up on and confused on, is that we can't confirm, we just can't confirm. We haven't seen the rest, like, we can't confirm what is identifying and what is not unless we saw all the contracts, right? We just don't know. And there's no reason for us to do that when our reporting has not been challenged. If our
Well, they
reporting
have
was being
challenged
challenged.
reporting, they just haven't published their
Without
contracts
any
yet.
facts, without.
Well, yeah,
you
but
don't
I mean,
have to
like, if
publish it, they
somebody
could
says a
provide it
thing,
to
somebody can
Wired.
refute a thing without publishing a thing either, right?
I mean, Stephen, what you're arguing is something that a lot of people on the right argue, which is that unless you publish this source material in the way that I like it, why should I believe anything on Wired.com has any editorial
Exactly. True. True.
standards? Why should I believe the Wired lawyers, the Wired fact checkers, the Wired editors, the Wired reporters? Why should I believe any of that? I'm not going to trust any of that. I'm only going to trust, sort of direct source material.
Yeah, but I think that's a great thing to some extent, in that there are a lot of companies that do publish a lot of the source material, right? I'm pretty sure Wired even changed. I think Wired even changed their standards to that where they don't do conversation.
Whoa, we got a follower.
Test. Never played Factorio, but looks like a mix of StarCraft and Anno.
Anno. So I'm actually showing you a very, very. This is the DLC part of Factorio. The actual game of Factorio is that you're on this planet, right? And I'm in like the zoomed out version, so you can actually see the massive base that I've created. And then all these little squares are just robots bringing ingredients to different factories that I've made. So like if I were to zoom in, okay, let's just zoom in onto this one little factory, this square that I made here. This is uranium processing. And you got this train that comes here that I made that brings uranium, processes the uranium from the raw ore to, well, two components, because like it makes two components from the raw ore. And then it comes out, gets processed in even further to be more, because we need more of the bright green stuff instead of the dark green stuff. So this contraption gets thrown into, this contraption
Test.
makes more green stuff.
Looks like my cup of tea, then may have to check it out.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It is the best. It is the first factory game, factory sim. Like Factorio, this game made the genre factory sims. So like there's other games that came out after Factorio that does the whole factory sim genre type of thing. But yeah, right now I'm just updating a ship that I made. Because like now we have different planets that we can go to. So you start out on this planet, and then there's like other planets where you can do other stuff that has different complexities and how to like win and defend. And like this one has like a territory type of grid where I have to defeat like a giant monster in order to like build in this location. And then you have another area where basically you have, this is the plant planet where instead of mining for ore, you're planting trees and you're collecting the stuff that the trees make with like seeds and stuff. And then you have another planet that does, I mean, this is just there's no way for me to explain this planet properly, but there's only one resource, but this one resource makes everything that you'll need, but you have to like make it so that it works. I don't know how to explain it really simply, but like, and then you have the frozen planet where it's just barren, where you need heat pipes in order for things to work, and it's very tedious and very annoying. And
That's why this is the smallest base, because I don't like working here. I don't like doing anything with this base because things freeze up and then you can't do anything. You have to run pipes and make stuff, and I don't like doing that, so whatever. Anyways, I need to go back to my Destiny.
On background anymore. They assume that everything is on the
You
record.
couldn't even see any of that, but that's fine. You know what? That's fine. It's a good game. It's a good game. I recommend 100%.
When they're interviewing people, and I think they make that explicitly clear when Wired is making people.
With spokespeople, that might be. I don't know.
Not with spokespeople, with everybody. I think Wired has an editorial standard now where they don't do on background anymore because they want to be able to source people's names directly. They don't want to just have anonymous sources. They don't want to rely on just a journalist claims for things.
I don't know if that is true, Stephen, and I would have to ask. But what I would say is the on background stuff. I'm generally also sympathetic to the idea. I don't give comms people the benefit of on background conversations. Like there are reasons to do things on background versus not on background. All I will say is, Stephen, if you don't trust Wired's reporting and if you don't trust their fact checking process and you don't trust the fact, at that point there's nothing that then I can't help you because
there's a really easy thing.
All
you have to do is publish the contract, and then that makes everything abundantly clear. It's
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Well, again, Wired stood by their reporting. They could provide any evidence privately
I know they've
to
stood by
Wired.
their reporting. You keep talking around this. It's very clever. I understand, but it was your choice ultimately to not publish the contract.
Yes, because I don't. You know why? Because I don't want to jeopardize my sources. And we had a lot of conversations, and I shared even a portion of the contract. And even my source reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm just not comfortable with this." And we ultimately want to respect our sources' right to, not be discovered, right to privacy. They're very scared right now because there's a lot of legal threats that are going around. These sources
how could one
terrified.
single source even know if you have multiple people who've shown you contracts?
One single source know what?
How could one single source reach out to you saying they were uncomfortable about some provision of the contract that was shared if multiple contracts have been shared with you guys? How would they even know?
I don't understand what you're asking.
You said that you published something in your article and somebody reached out to you saying they were worried about what you published.
No, not in the article. I posted a small sliver of a screenshot of a clause in the contract, and I heard from one of my sources that was like, "Hey, I'm really scared because they're doing this legal. We're scared of getting sued. I just want to make sure that you're not going to share the contract because again, the conditions that they shared it under is that it would not be posted all publicly on the internet. That we would report on it and we would use it for reporting material, but we would not post it on Twitter.com, which is the agreement that I made when I reported on this story or when I initially. Now, could I revisit it with them? Maybe I will try. I've actually, like I said, I have fought so hard. It's ironic that you're pushing me on this because Stephen, trust me, I have fought in every institution that I'm at to share more source material. I don't know if you remember my interview with Libs of TikTok. That interview was actually in the context of a 3,500 word story that I wrote totally separately that I think a lot of people didn't read. But I knew that actually publishing the source, the actual direct interview, would be the only way that people could sort of like truly understand what this woman had to say and that where these quotes wouldn't be taken out of context and such. So I'm with you. I am totally with you on the transparency there.
You're saying this, but on this particular case, it sounds like Wired would be okay with you publishing the contract, but you decided not to.
No. First of all, I don't think they are okay with me publishing source material. As far as I understand, that's not something that we agreed to at all.
I didn't say you agreed to it, but you keep talking around this. But you chose not to publish the contract. If you went back to your editor right now and you said, I actually think I want to publish portions of this, you're telling me they would say no?
I already signed an agreement saying that I wouldn't. I signed an agreement saying that I wouldn't do that.
Wait,
so
with who?
I'm with Wired, that I agreed to report this stuff exclusively for Wired.
That's agreeing to report it exclusively for Wired, that you would give them the scoop on something. It's not the same as agreeing that you wouldn't publish any of the source material.
No. Stephen, please. I know that you haven't freelanced very much, but no, the point is that
Hold on, I'm sorry, just to be extremely clear, you're telling me that you have a clause in your exclusive reporting on this with Wired, a clause in your contract that says I will not publish any of the source material in my article that I write for this.
Yeah, what I signed on to, which is totally standard in a lot of freelance contracts, is that I wouldn't publish it, that I wouldn't publish, that I would reserve all of my exclusive reporting material for them. That means I'm not using it for a podcast. That means I'm not using it for social media.
Taylor, Stephen, don't interrupt me.
I've
signed a lot of these contracts and you're doing this game. You're doing the game.
If you keep interrupting me, we're not going to have a conversation. Okay. Are you going to let me finish speaking or are you going to keep interrupting me?
Okay,
Please let me finish my thought before you interrupt me again.
Go for it.
True.
There are many reasons why we're not publishing this material directly.
And the reason why Destiny getting triggered, because she wants to frame it in a way, and he knows that she's going to frame it in the way that it's supposed to be framed and actually say what, like Destiny wants to get in front of her of what she's actually going to say, because what she's going to say is going to make a lot of sense and it's going to make perfect sense, but he doesn't want, or maybe he thinks that she's just playing some funny game that she's lying or something, but he's not accusing of her of lying. Like what? But there's a reason why he's interrupting her, and obviously it's because he doesn't want her to say the thing that it's going to make a lot of sense.
All I can tell you, you don't agree with many of them, and you can litigate them with me all day and do debate stream, whatever. It is ultimately unproductive because the result is the same, which is that I am not publishing the direct source material. Now, people can choose, before you interrupt and freak out, okay? People can choose to say, listen, I don't trust Wired. I don't trust their fact checkers. I don't trust their legal team. I don't trust whatever. I'm sympathetic to that because people don't trust the mainstream media. But what I would say to those people is that Wired does abide by standard journalistic practices. And if Brian Tyler Cohen or any of these other people had provided information, not publicly, but reached out to Wired with information that counteracted the facts of the story, or reached out to me with information that disproved the facts of the story, there would be a correction on the story. And so I welcome them even still to provide any information privately. If they don't want to do it publicly, they could still get corrections on the story. They would just have to provide evidence that what we reported was false. So far, they have not done that. Now, listen, you can disagree with this decision not to publish the contract directly, but that is a decision that I made with the sources and that I made with Wired when I agreed to give this reporting to them instead of doing it online. And please, you can critique me and disagree with me on that, but it is completely counterproductive to go around in circles and litigate this over and over again when the end result is the same. And it sounds like you disagree with that. And I'm sympathetic to that disagreement because I have also been in these newsrooms where I've advocated repeatedly for us to put more things on the internet. But that is what it is. And so I guess we will just have to agree to disagree on that point. There are a lot of other things related to this article that I think are a lot more pertinent that we could be debunking, that we could be discussing. And instead, you just want to do this, litigate this thing that is ultimately unproductive. We are just going to fundamentally disagree, and the result is the same.
And I understand, and that's fine. We can disagree on this particular thing, but it's just in an article where it seems like you're advocating for a maximalist approach to transparency that transcends even what the law requires, right? Which is that you want every single content creator, influencer, talent agency, whatever, to be doing these maximal disclosures.
Whoa, it even transcends what the law even requires. Ooh, whoa. It's almost like they have their own, like policies, and they do their own thing, and they're not doing anything illegal. Like, okay, that's great. Like, amazing.
Disclosures about money going around, things that exceed what you yourself, even Fox News wouldn't make these types of disclosures. It's just interesting that in that same article, you on your own made the choice not to publish the contract that would easily resolve every single claim.
Not on my own.
Just to be clear, that when I say on your own, I let you go. You have to let me finish, okay?
Yes,
because every time I ask you if you would have published this, if you would publish the contract, you said
so he lied. Okay, so she said on your own. And she's like, no, this wasn't on my own. And well, let me finish lying about you before you butt in.
We keep saying we. I understand that you made decisions in conjunction with your editor or whoever you signed with to release this article for. And then when I asked you about publishing the contract, you said you went on to describe parts of your contract, and then you implied that I haven't seen these contracts. It sounds like I've seen just as many, if not more than you, because I know exactly what you're describing when you talk about not publish it anywhere else. And you're just talking about the exclusivity agreement that you had with Wired. You're not talking at all about what you were allowed to publish or the source material being published or not. You were just explaining that you were allowed to publish that source material on your Twitter or in any other place. That's just a standard exclusive contract. I understand that, but it has nothing to do with the substance of the question I asked.
Stephen, again, this is just completely unproductive. I have gotten in trouble at news organizations for publishing source material directly. I've gotten in trouble many times over. I'm not about to.
The easy question is, would Wired block you from publishing the contract? Would Wired say, no, you cannot do that?
Wired, I have no idea. I'd have to talk to them again, and I'd have to have conversations with my sources about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
So again, the end result is the same. But not publishing. Not talking about publicly. Once again, these creators could disprove this by reaching out directly, and they have been unable to refute the facts of our story. So,
and I think they should do that. I don't know why they haven't done that. They should do that. Yeah.
And next time, you know what? I take your point. Next time that I report a scoop, maybe I will spend a little extra time negotiating and saying, by the way, I'm going to release this amount online and I'm going to do this and this. Or maybe I'll just post it on Twitter. I have done that myself with stories sometimes before where I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not even going to do this for a news org. I'm just going to go ahead and post some stuff publicly, because I think that this is a better way to communicate the story. So feedback accepted. And I understand what you're saying because I am on the same side. I think we all want more transparency. What I would say is that I'm a journalist, and what we are asking for in terms of the subjects of our article, this is a political effort. And I think transparency in terms of communication about who's getting paid is so important in politics. I keep calling you Destiny. Stephen, wouldn't you agree that it's important for people to disclose when they're getting political funding? That's important, right?
I think it's essential, but that's why I advocate for changing the laws. I would never push just one group or one side or one thing to do that because it just puts you at a disadvantage because now you're disclosing stuff and nobody else is, and now people are just going to attack your disclosure.
No, we're not. She just made one article. Just because someone made one article and specifically focused on one thing doesn't mean that she's only pushing. That doesn't mean like the whole overall narrative is that she only wants this one thing to be pushed and nothing else. Like he's trying to pretend that she's only doing this just to make it because only one side is being pushed. Like, why not talk about the right side? Like, why not do that? But like, we're talking about this now. Like, why don't you go make an article and push that? Since you're so upset that she didn't include everything all at once and be super fair all the time with both sides and play both sides with that. I like him. Aren't you like? He's basically saying, why don't you just do the both sidesism? Like, both sides does this. Like, see, you said that the left is doing something bad. Why not talk about the right is doing something bad now? Oh, but that's both sidesism. What, like, I thought you hated that, Destiny. Like, you're he's basically pushing for that.
disclosures, and now nobody else has to make the same types of disclosures. But I do agree with you in terms of like,
see,
I think that,
he's playing the both sidesism, the thing that he hates, despise all the time. It's like, why do we have to keep playing both sides? Obviously, one side's worse. And right now, it's the Democrats. But I guess he doesn't want to accept that.
Political effort. And I think transparency in terms of communication about who's getting paid is so important in politics. I keep calling you Destiny. Stephen, wouldn't you agree that it's important for people to disclose when they're getting political funding? That's important, right?
I think it's essential, but that's why I advocate for changing the laws. I would never push just one group or one side or one thing to do that, because it just puts you at a disadvantage, because now you're disclosing stuff and nobody else is, and now people are just going to attack your disclosures, and now nobody else has to make the same types of disclosures. But I do agree with you in terms of like, I think that like, I listen, you know, as much as I disagree with a lot of your stuff, I'm glad that you unmasked the Libs of TikTok account. Okay, I think it's really weird that there's a lot of people in alternative media that have a huge sway over our political conversations, and we don't even know who they are, what country they're from, or who they might be paid for, or who they work for. So I think there is a great value in that. I guess just curious, the only other the biggest, strongest claim that I had seen was that like people who would even reference being in the program would be that the contract said that they'd be like kicked out. Was that like a clause in the contract written too, that if people acknowledged that they were in chorus or that they were getting paid, that they could be cut from or kicked out of the program?
Yeah, creators told us that if they had violated any terms of the contract, they could be kicked out. And I think there, you know, that is part of violating the contract would have been to go public. There are these these agreements, or there is this language in the contract that says this is not public and you cannot disclose basically that you're in this program or disclose the identity of the funder. And that is something, again, that these creators, some of them wanted to do. And they did not want to just get online and say, hey guys, I'm being funded by the 1630 fund or whatever, because they understood that they would be kicked out, because that would be one of many things that they could do to violate the terms of the contract. And if you violated the terms of the contract, of course, you would suffer the consequences of that.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that also sounds kind of standard. If you violate terms of a contract, they'll probably kick you out. But the disclosure part, I guess, also depends on how it's being disclosed. I feel like there's probably reason for some caution there, right? In that, there was one part of your article mentioned they needed permission first. I can kind of understand that to maintain the FEC standing, right? You wouldn't want somebody doing some event and saying like, oh, hey, I'm part of Chorus, and that's why I'm here doing this thing. If Chorus has nothing to do with it, and then Chorus could get roped into a whole FEC debacle where it's like, wait, this was for, they were with an AOC event, and now they said that Chorus helped them, so there's like a huge issue here, and they shouldn't have said that. I feel like some of those things are kind of fair.
I totally. I mean, I get it. But one thing that I would say, Stephen, and I think actually Tina Nguyen and Mia Sato at The Verge had a really great piece. They did publish this discussion on The Verge, which has also been doing amazing reporting on the influencer industry and politics, about kind of like this strategy of non-disclosure. And they compared it to the Koch network, which is something that the 1630 Fund is compared very frequently to the Koch network, in the sense that they're both these big dark money groups. And in many ways, according to Politico, at least, like the 1630 Fund is sort of this liberal response to the Koch network. And what Tina herself was a Koch fellow, like she was in the right-wing media herself. Now she reports on it. I thought what she said was so smart in that piece, where she was talking about like kind of why the Koch network actually has become less relevant over recent years. And in part, it was because it had this, it had this air about it where it was these sort of like shadowy billionaires like funding things, and people sort of didn't like, especially around the Tea Party times, that they were sort of like funding this, fake grassroots movement. Like people didn't like the idea that this was all happening in secret, and people don't like to feel like their political or media ecosystem is polluted by these like weird dark money forces like on the right or the left. And so I think what's interesting about what 1630 is doing now is, and what Tina argues in her piece with Mia, is that like they're sort of pursuing this strategy that ultimately failed. Whereas like something like Turning Point USA, which is a lot more public, the Turning Point, kids, like those influencers like literally have at Turning Point like in their bio. It's this like public thing. That actually has been like, that sort of more public program has actually been more successful on the right. And so yes, the right still does a ton of like shady, dark influence stuff. But if you look at these big programs like Turning Point, which I've reported on a bunch myself, it is very like public in this way. And I wonder, and my question would be to 1630 and to Chorus, which they're not talking to me, but my question to them would be, why not just do it publicly? Why not just, why have these weird things where if it gets disclosed, it makes you seem untrustworthy? Like, why not just make this a public program? Wouldn't that get more people involved? It seems like a lot of these people, like the fans of these people, would be excited for their favorite liberal creators to get funding, as long as they don't feel duped about it. So
what is
I'm
just kind of curious, because I've heard this term thrown around a lot. When you say that, like, or if somebody says that, like, so Chorus exists and then they are funded by the 1630 Fund. When we say dark money, I guess, what is your definition of dark money, or how much? Yeah, how far back do you have to go for it to not be dark money? Yeah.
Definitely. So actually, I had Anna Mascolia, who is one of the, and I definitely butchered her last name, but she was managing editor at Open Secrets for like 7 years. She publishes a newsletter called Influence Watch. She is one of the foremost journalists in the country talking about dark money. And I just made a video with her that's out today, actually answering this question. So I'll try to summarize what she told me. But basically, dark money just means that you don't know where you sort of don't know who it's from, and it's a political, like, when people talk about dark money groups, they're not just talking about every 501c4 or whatever nonprofit. They're talking about like a entity that has a certain structure that is meant to evade, that is for political purposes, that also you don't have, I'm butchering it, but like you don't have to know who funds it. So the big issue with 1630 Fund or some of these other big dark money groups, do they do a lot of great work? Yeah. I mean, 1630 funded a ton of like reproductive justice stuff. Like, you know, I'm not saying like they're evil in some way, just the way that a lot of conservatives wouldn't say Koch network is evil. They believe that they're doing good. But we don't know who funds them. And the only way we find out who funds them is if people self-disclose. So sometimes public organizations disclose, like public Fortune 500 companies will donate to these funds, and sometimes they'll disclose. But lots of billionaires and foreign, you know, billionaires and stuff will donate to these things, and we don't know. And so, you know, this is why one creator, I don't know if you saw him, I forgot his name, but his TikTok went kind of viral. He was actually asked to be part of this 1630 funding program with Chorus, and Chorus is described as a project of the 1630 fund in the contracts. He said, listen, I have security clearance. I have security clearance in whatever the government, and to maintain that security clearance, I have to be able to prove that I have never accepted money from any sort of foreign adversary. If I take money from a dark money group, you don't know where that money ultimately originated from, and so he couldn't join the program.
I don't know if that sounds not accurate to me, because if you don't know where the money's coming from, how can the foreign money be a corrupting influence?
Well, that's a really good question, right? Is that you don't know. So they're not directly corrupting you in the sense of like, they're not like, ooh, you know, hey, like, I'm so-and-so, and here's like, you know, here's how I'm gonna influence you. The question I think arises with these dark money groups is because we don't know who's funding them, we don't know how much that's impacting their legislative like agenda. We don't know how much that's impacting their policy initiatives. We don't know if some big funder,
if you fill out like an SF-86 and you've had I'm not talking about the lawmakers, I'm talking for the clearance form. Like generally when you're doing your SF-86 background checks and you're talking to people, it's to make sure that they don't have foreign relationships that they aren't disclosing to the government, because those can be corrupting or be used for leverage or other things, you know, if you travel or whatever. So I don't understand like a dark money, like it's like imagine somebody's bribing you, but it's just $10,000 shows up in your mailbox and you don't know who it comes from. I don't know how that could be disqualifying.
You'll have to take it up with him. But what he says on TikTok, and he's public and he's been answering people's questions on TikTok, so you should definitely go ask him. But what he said is that he had to prove basically that he had never received foreign money from certain places. His name, let me just get his name for you guys, because then you can go yourselves and
But also
and
it wouldn't be receiving foreign money. It'd be receiving money from the 1630 fund, right?
Well, so, but the foreign money could, and we're saying foreign, basically money that he couldn't accept could be funded there. Hold on, let me just grab his. It's Shane Morris.
Okay, sure.
So if you
Shane
go
Morris.
on Shane Morris, you guys can go ask him these questions.
But
now,
like, if I have a W-2 employee and I get paid and I make money for different things, like that W-2 employee, they only have to disclose that they're being paid by GDL. It doesn't matter where my money comes from, right? Yeah.
Well, you should ask this to Shane, who's very public and is talking about this. I did not talk to Shane for my story, so you know, please don't drag him, because people keep saying he's my source, and he is somebody that I saw actually after my story came out. But I think the issue is that we don't know the influence that these donors have on a 1630 Fund's agenda or policy agenda or programs. And so that's the concern with dark money. Is I personally would not feel comfortable as a journalist taking money from somebody where I don't know where that money is coming from, because I want to have a certain level of transparency, and I want to be able to communicate to my audience, hey guys, I have never taken money from XYZ. I've never taken money from Mark Andreessen, for instance, and I never would. And that is something that I feel like I can communicate confidently to my audience because I know exactly who funds me. And I think one problem with these dark money groups is that we don't know who funds them, and we just deserve more transparency on the political ecosystem across the board. You're right, this is a structural problem. This is not something that the creators themselves are going to solve, but we should advocate for less dark money in politics, because one thing that the dark money groups really do, which is not even related to the course thing, is they're funding the PACs, right, and the super PACs. So PACs, of course, have to disclose, and they have to. I think you're part of one, right? You have to disclose.
I'm not part of any PAC.
Oh, you're not. Okay, take it back. I for some reason I thought you were. Anyway, but you know what a PAC is, right? The super PACs or whatever. So what these dark money groups will do is they'll sort of spin up. There'll be a dark money fund spin up, or they'll sort of spin off like a shell sort of group, and then that will just fund the PAC. And so we still don't really have transparency because we don't know who funded that dark money group. Now it's just a black box of money, and that black box of money is funding the PAC that's then doing political activity. So we just want a lot more transparency.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, because I'm kind of curious, because it's hard to, I guess, like differentiate between all these organizations. So obviously, a lot of people have said I was part of some PAC because I did a couple activations, I guess, with Progressive Victory a while ago. But I've seen people attack you over the Amidia or whatever. Amidia. I'm in a journalism fellowship right now. So but I'm just curious because of that, because they use that same like hybrid funding methodology to where the group that you work for, they are also funded by their 501c4.
No. So I'm funded by, I'm in an investigative journalism fellowship that one, I just should very much be very clear about, is not political. Okay. I'm not part of any political program or anything like that. This is an investigative reporting fellowship that is non-political, non-partisan. It is just to support investigative journalism. It is funded by Pierre Omidyar, who's a billionaire. Now, Pierre Omidyar himself has donated to dark money, just the way that Lorraine Powell Jobs,
the Omidyar network is a hybrid. I think it's a 527 on one end and then a 501c4, and the 527 is able to bill about $15 million a year to the 501c4 quote-unquote dark money thing. What you say about being an independent journalist, couldn't somebody just who's part of Chorus say the same thing? And then you can challenge
because I know where 100% of the funding for my program comes from, which is directly from Pierre Omidyar. And Omidyar came out and gave a statement making this clear that they have not received any other
by him personally. You're not taking money from the entity
The entity that I am part of, which is which is the Reporters in Residence program.
Yeah,
the
well,
Reporters
I'm talking
in
about the
Residence
federal
program.
taxed entity. That entity is part of a hybrid structure that does get money through their C4.
No, they're funded by Pierre Omidyar. So Pierre Omidyar is the billionaire. So you're confusing it. So dark money doesn't fund billionaires. Billionaires fund dark money.
Sure.
So
well, just
billionaires.
to be the org you're part of, I can see their 990Fs. Like they file these things publicly. They bill about $15 million a year. I think it was like $14.6 million last year to their partner 501c4. You can read on the Omidyar Network website that they operate in the cyber domain.
Right, and I'm not part of any of that. I'm only part of the Reporters in Residence program, which gets 100% of its funding from Pierre Omidyar. That's his fund. That's what he funds it for. So now Pierre Omidyar himself, you're right, has given to dark money funds and does his own political things. I'm not disputing that. But I know where my money comes from, where I'm like, okay, do I feel comfortable taking this fellowship that is Pierre Omidyar's money? I personally do, because he funds The Intercept and he funds a lot of journalism programs. And it's also, I've worked for billionaires, unfortunately, my entire journalism career. I worked for The Atlantic as well, that's funded by Lorraine Powell Jobs, who I'm sure also gives money to dark money groups. Jeff Bezos.
For the chorus people that reached out to you, for their paychecks, were they signed by like the 1630 fund, or were they signed by like the Chorus network?
As far as I understand, it was 1630, as far as I understand.
But you haven't seen any like deposits or check slips or anything?
I don't remember, but in the communication, they say, in the communication that we have, they say that it will say 1630 on it.
Gotcha.
And that's why I like the contracts and stuff again. And I'm not saying that like these creators are evil for accepting this money. I think they're like what liberals will have, many people, and Anna clarifies this in the video that I made as well. Like what many of them will say is like, look, I don't like the system either, right? Like I don't like this system either. I think that this is bad. I think the Koch network is evil. But until we change these laws, I think we should leverage it, and I feel comfortable taking this money, whatever. What I would say to them is that's totally your decision, right? Like you've made that. Well, I'm a journalist. I hold myself to different standards, but you're a political activist. Maybe you feel totally fine.
I understand what you're saying, but your checks are not signed by that Pierre guy. Your checks are signed by, I'm guessing it says the Omidyar network or whatever, right?
I actually don't know because I haven't gotten paid, but I would imagine that it says the Reporters in Residence, the LLC they're paid for. It's an LLC. So
but the LLC that's the other hybrid.
It's 100%. No, it's not hybrid. That's 100% funded by Pierre Omidyar. And
it
if
is
you want
absolutely not. It's not. You can read their filings. It's just not.
You can, but you might be confused by their filings. But here, if you click on this Omidyar Network approach to funding journalism, they issued a statement right here.
I see the statement at the end. It says the work is supported entirely via our foundation and LLC. That foundation is the hybrid foundation that includes the 501c4. Their 990F filings are public.
But when it comes to the Reporters in Residence program, we do know where the funding comes from. So I'm with you, Stephen. I know that they also do political stuff and all of that, and the foundation itself is completely separate. That was something that I was like, obviously we're all aware of. But I know personally where my money comes from. And the issue that some people feel that they have a problem with dark money is that they don't necessarily know where that money comes from.
Sure.
And so that is the argument that I think remains to be made. And again, some of them are fine. They might say, like these reproductive justice activists, right, that also take money from 1630. They're like, yeah, okay, I don't know where all the money comes. Maybe it is from an evil billionaire that I completely disagree with, but I'm going to take that money anyway and I'm going to use it for a good cause. I think that you can make that argument, and I'm not shaming anyone, for that. But what I think that we can all agree with is disclosure. As you noted, this program that I'm in sent out a press release the day. There's all the information that you can find is public, and the reason that you're able to find those documents.
Like none of the contracts have been published for those creators that are there, right?
I completely turned off my brain to this. I was totally focused on this.
Well, right, because it's not public. Their contracts are not public. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but there's not transparency there, right? Well, I don't know what your contract looks like. I don't know. Like none of what they put on this website is legally binding. They're just writing a thing and they're saying it's supported entirely via the foundation and LLC. But I can't look at the specific funding mechanisms that are.
Oh, I see he's trying to draw a parallel between. Well, okay. Well, since this is such a big deal, then maybe you should actually do this since you think this is such a big deal. But let's see. What does she have to say to that?
Well, and there's no right. And if you found like evidence or something, like what I would say is that if somebody reported on that program and was able to find evidence that the network had lied or had not disclosed and there was a secret funder, that would be an amazing article that somebody could write, right? Like just the way that the Chorus, it's like, oh wow, 1630 fund is behind them.
And the trap is not working because she's literally being like, yeah, I agree, Destiny. We should have more just. They should do this. They should definitely look into this, man. And Destiny's like,
actually, that's confusing. Whatever. What I would say is, again, Pierre Omidyar is a billionaire. So billionaires fund dark money groups. Dark money groups they don't just go around giving billionaires money. Billionaires are the funders. So I have made the decision, unfortunately, that I have taken money from billionaires ultimately working for either doing it.
And look at her. She's just saying it. She preaches what she does.
investigative journalism fellowship or working at these billionaire-owned media companies. I don't love it. It's part of the reason I went independent, but at least I'm comfortable with the people that I'm taking money from. There are billionaires that I would never take money from, for instance, Mark Andreessen and others. And so I think that that's a conversation that we need to have, but I'm comfortable with the level that I've had of disclosure. And I think that that's what we need to focus on is the lack of disclosure in the political space. Because that's another thing that's different, right? I'm not in a political program. I'm in an investigative journalism fellowship. I'm not doing political activism.
Well, Chorus is also not supposed to be in a political program as well, right? Like, I think it's...
No, Chorus is political. Chorus is, the whole reason that Chorus exists is to fix the Democrats' internet content creator problem.
But isn't the stated mission, the stated goal is like basically just informing people on democracy and stuff?
So yes, Chorus is political. Let's go back a little bit. What was the disagreement here?
Activism.
What was
Chorus
the...
is also not...
Oh, this is the lie. Chorus is not a political place. Well, they are. Yes, they are.
It's supposed to be in a political program as well, right? Like, I think it's...
No, Chorus is political. Chorus is, the whole reason that Chorus exists is to fix the Democrats' internet content creator problem.
Sure, but isn't the stated mission, the stated goal is like basically just informing people on democracy and stuff like that? Like, I think that it's expressly supposed to be.
I don't know what they have, but I'll tell you how Brian Tyler Cohen described its mission. Let's see. This is how Brian Tyler Cohen described it in the New York Times. He said, here's how he's talking about launching Chorus. We have an obligation to launch Chorus, because the Democratic Party has been so slow in adapting to the media environment we're in right now. And so what the goal is, according to this article, which is the launch article that Ken Bensinger wrote, is their goal is to help the Democrats. Again, that's not a secret.
Sure. I think that's a way that you could read that. But I mean, you could also just say that like the values and things that I aligned with the Democratic...
That's a way you can read that. What does that even mean?
Party on. The other things that I imagine the 1630 Fund supports, the Democrats have done a poor job at that messaging, so they want to reach out and educate creators and everything in order to, I guess, like advocate more
help
strongly.
The Democrats. Yeah, help the Democrats.
Not help the Democrats, but to like support things like ballot initiatives related to abortion or legalization of marijuana. I don't know, whatever the 1630
Yeah,
Fund
Democratic policies that Democrats support.
They're policies that they support, but they're not necessarily helping the Democrats, right? Like, there's no formal connection to the DNC or anything, right?
I don't think that Republicans are getting into these programs. I don't think that, I mean, yeah, you're right. I guess the 1630 Fund has funded, they funded RFK, I believe. They had some sort of weird funding thing with RFK. So I guess, yeah, maybe. But what I would say is I don't think it's a secret that Chorus is meant, the whole nature of Chorus is to help Democrats, fix and get back in power. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my issue with Chorus and the center of my article is disclosure, and it doesn't sound like we disagree on that. And I think that you can litigate a lot, and you can say all this stuff about.
Sure, I don't understand the difference. The difference between like Chorus and the Omidyar network is. It feels like the same. Like the Reporters in Residence program is a program that's funded via the C4 that the Omidyar network runs, and the same way that Chorus is funded by the C4 part of the 1630 Fund.
No, I think you're confused. So again, my investigative journalism fellowship is not a political program.
It doesn't matter if it's a political program. It's funded by a dark money foundation.
No, it's not. It's just not. It's just not true that the Reporters in Residence program is funded by dark money. It's funded by Pierre Omidyar.
It's not.
Who
Your
is the sole
paychecks
funder.
are not. So you're a 1099.
I have actually not even received. You know what, Stephen? I have not received.
You keep saying this, but you're not getting paid by him personally, right? If I pay an employee something through my company, that's not me personally giving them money. That's my company paying them.
But there's a level of transparency that I know where the money came from, and that is.
But that's not publicly disclosed to any of us, which is the transparency that you're asking for, right?
She's literally saying it right now publicly. So like, oh, we don't even know that. Well, I mean, she's literally admitting to that. Like, what? How do you? Okay, all right. You're gonna make an argument that literally gets completely destroyed instantaneously because she just admits to it right then and there. Like, my goodness.
They publicly disclose it in this.
Like, listen to that one more time.
Program is funded by dark money. It's funded by Pierre Omidyar.
It's not.
Who
Your
is the sole
paychecks
funder.
are not. So you're a 1099.
I have actually not even received. You know what, Stephen? I have not received.
You keep saying this, but you're not getting paid by him personally, right? If I pay an employee something through my company, that's not me personally giving them money. That's my company paying them.
But there's a level of transparency that I know where the money came from, and that is.
But that's not publicly disclosed to any of us, which is the transparency that you're asking for, right?
They publicly disclose it in this. They publicly disclose it right here.
If this counts as public disclosure with no tax forms published, then Brian Tyler Cohen counts as public disclosure when he refutes parts of the contract, right? Why would he be demanded to publish the contract, but Omidyar Network can just be taken at face value for?
Omidyar Network is not a political group. I don't know what you're trying.
They're not, but it functions as a super PAC. It functions as a.
It's not a super PAC either. Stephen, I think you're very confused. So part of, and I encourage you to read Anna's work, and maybe you can have Anna on your stream actually to talk about this, because Anna covers dark money, and she can go into all of this detail where she can explain to you the nuances that might really help you understand. Part of what makes a money or group a dark money group is the political nature of the group. So it's not just any group, and this is why people were thinking like, oh, the NAACP is a dark money org. Like, that's something people on Threads were saying. You have to be doing sort of specific political activities as far as she worked at Open Secrets, which I would say is sort of like the default description of it. There is that political nature to it. So I think that I don't know, I can't answer these specific like tax questions of that you're having about certain forms and things. But I know that Anna is somebody who I trust, who is one of the top reporters in the country on dark money. She does explain the difference between the stuff in the video on my channel. I personally did not work at Open Secrets for 7 years, so I'm sorry that I can't like litigate all those little things, but I do feel confident in saying that I know where every dollar that I receive came from and who's paying the bills.
Sure. So
I know
I'm just curious. So for the Media Art Network, because I read their site, they operate a dual 501c3 and an LLC structure. Do you know every dollar that goes into the LLC?
Yes, I asked about this when I accepted this fellowship, and I know that it's from
they've given you like a profit and loss. They've given you some kind of tax filing, 1040, 1120S.
They gave me enough information that I completely trust them. Yeah,
but then you're taking it on word from a billionaire, right?
No, I'm not taking it on word from a billionaire. I'm taking it from. I mean, they provided me evidence showing that, and I believe them. And you're right.
But to the outside world, it's a dark money. It's a dark money fund, right? Because we don't know what goes into the LLC. No, wait, how is it not dark money? Can they not accept an infinite amount of money from people they don't have to disclose?
This is not an LLC that pays investigative journalists is not dark money. Again, you're missing the key part, Stephen, of dark money, which is that it is political in nature. The goal
investigative journalism can't be political in nature.
So the program that I'm in is not a political program, and it is not for political purposes, and it is completely nonpartisan. I'm not a Democrat, and in fact, what I would say to you, Stephen, is if Omidyar is so involved in dark money and 1630 fund or whatever, me reporting critically on one of his investments shows that I am editorially independent from whoever is
what
paying
you're saying is the same argument a lot of content creators on Chorus use when they've said negative things about the Democratic Party. David Pakman just said that, or they've said negative things about the war in Israel.
I think that they're right. Oh, the Israel stuff we should talk about too. I think that does. I agree with them. I think that is evidence of their editorial independence. And I've said from the jump, and if you read our story again, our story doesn't say that they were given talking points, especially about Israel and all of that stuff. So I do think that
didn't say that if they didn't toe the content line.
Interrupting me
because you keep pivoting. I think you said
I'm not pivoting.
It sounded like they had a lot of
questions.
They had a lot of content.
This is very unproductive. Ultimately, I don't know what to tell you other than I am not involved in a political program. I am doing an investigative journalism fellowship that is.
Yeah, Chorus is literally. This is literally. Like helping content creators expand their reach and educate others about news policies and issues that impact their lives. Funded by a group contributed in December of 2024. What happened in November of 2024? Wonder what happened in November of 2024, 1 month before that happened. I wonder what happened. It's not political at all. Course is recruiting a training and supporting independent online voices and building the next era for the online conversation. Interesting. Join Chorus. Ooh. All right. The Chorus Creator Incubator is launching a community for pro-democracy creators. Who in the media has been saying was anti-democratic for like the past couple of months? I wonder if they're trying to get a bunch of people that are pro the anti-person that a lot of media news agencies were saying is actually anti-democratic. We host weekly technical trainings to help creators navigate, grow, and on different platforms, provide creators the opportunity to learn from guest speakers about topics. Obviously, it's Trump. Trump was. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Trump is undemocratic" or whatever. It's bullshit. Growth on different platforms. I mean, when I say it's bullshit, I mean it's like over-exaggerated nonsense. Provide creators the opportunity to learn from guest speakers about topic news issues. Provide them with technical tools and equipment to help them level up their production process. I mean, I already have all that. What are the benefits of joining Chorus? Will I be paid to create content? Nope. Chorus is a creator-led nonprofit with really a different model in the creator space. We don't pay creators to produce content. We just give you the space to learn more about how to communicate effectively to grow your platforms. In other words, creators are free to post what they want when they want. This includes their affiliation with Chorus. Please note that we do ask creators to submit some pieces of content or growth analysis to retain the right to share our analysis of our overall performance. Interesting. So let me see what type of content you do. We only need that content just because, not because we want to see your political affiliation, but we just want to see like what you're doing wrong in the growth process. Nice one. All right. We're almost done with this video.
Is not the goal of that program is not political, and I do think that Should investigative journalists also, have more transparency around their program? Sure. But political content creators taking political money, in my opinion, should disclose and should ask a lot of questions, because there's a lot of money aimed at influencing politics. Unfortunately, there's not as much money paying investigative journalists. Nobody's doing that. It's a charity, basically. Whereas there's a lot of money in the political system to influence specific political outcomes. That's a key difference.
My understanding when you wrote about Chorus is that one of the earlier lines was that they had restrictions on the political content that the content creators could make. That sounded like a part of the contract.
So one thing that the story says is that there were restrictions on the content, but we're not talking about specific, I don't know what it says in terms of Chorus's policy agenda or whatever, but you can read the language in the article.
Sure, it says among other issues, it mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. So that was in the contract. It said you were not allowed to produce this type of conservative content or pro Palestine
I didn't see
content.
them use, no. Well, one thing that I think, if we could move on to, that I think would be more productive, is to discuss this Israel question, because that is something that a lot of people have had questions about, and I've seen a lot of speculation about online, where people have said, "Oh, they're paid not to talk about Israel." Da, da, da. Nowhere in our article does it make that claim. Nowhere, and that is something that I think people brought up. It is something that I looked into. There are content creators in this program that have spoken about Palestine, and I think that a lot of people have sort of taken the article, which is paywalled, and this is another problem with journalism, that it's paywalled. So I don't think a lot of people read the full article, but I just do want to make it clear that I think some of what these content creators like David Pakman have refuted are actually not claims ever made in our article.
Well, but everybody else is making. Does it bother you if every other leftist creator is making these claims? If that's what the article says, why is there so much ubiquitous, confusion on that side? It seems to be pointed in one direction.
I mean, it does bother her, but you keep trying to talk about something completely irrelevant. Well, not completely irrelevant, but something that you guys just disagree with, framing, when she's been trying to get to this conversation this entire time, and now you're acting like, well, doesn't this bother you? Well, yeah. I think that was the main. I think an hour ago she wanted to get to this conversation, but you keep trying to refocus on the other thing. Keep saying, "Oh, you keep changing the topic. Oh, you keep changing the topic." But whatever.
Yeah, it's not one direction. I think people, unfortunately, once you publish something, people take a lot of people take your stuff and make claims, and I try to debunk it as best I can. But all I can do is continue to point to the article and kind of share the information that I have. But I think that.
Thank you for the follow. Are you gonna say anything? I think it was Lion.
I think that part of what's driving all of that, aside from the fact that Gaza is such a dividing issue among so many people online, in the sort of the left sphere, is that we don't know the full makeup of the course program. So we still don't have a roster. This is another argument for transparency. Omidyar, my Omidyar Reporters in Residence program, we know everyone that's in it, right? We don't know with the chorus cohort, they told
to be
creators,
clear, we don't know everybody that's in it. We know the PR statement that they put out, but we don't have tax filings or anything. We don't see all of their payroll.
Lyndon
We don't see
10.
all of the disbursements of the companies.
LMAO, how was her day?
Oh, Lyndon. Sorry, I said Lion. My day's good. My day is good. Also, no art. No art, please. No art. Thank you. Have a nice day.
On Chorus? What are you talking about?
No, on the Omidyar network, right? On the LLC. I don't know everybody they pay. They announced, so these are just statements, right? We don't have any tax filings, we don't have any proof.
Stephen, it would be a great news story if they announced that. Why would they? Okay, first of all, they announced the public roster, saying, "Hey guys, here's who are the newest members of our reporting fellowship." Now, if you think that there are secret journalists that are also part of the reporting fellowship that they didn't announce,
10.
I really encourage.
Not an art bot, don't worry.
Haha. Love it. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Anyone to find that story. That would be a crazy story. I've been on the Zoom calls. I've never seen anybody that was not announced as part of the program on our Zoom meetups. That would be very silly, and there's no reason to hide.
Do you have any questions or thoughts or about Destiny, this guy? Do you even know who this guy is? This Destiny person? This is not true. You probably, I don't know if you know this person, but this Destiny guy. Have any thoughts on him? Yeah, a lot of people tend to have a lot of opinions about this guy.
Who's in an investigative journalism fellowship. With the Chorus program, we know who some creators are in the program.
And I'm always interested in hearing alternate perspectives, or maybe even share the same perspective. But yeah, before I give my thoughts on it, I always like to ask other people because I like to know what they think.
But we don't know the full 90. And so what you're seeing a lot of creators on
Lyndon
the left
10.
say.
My only thought RN is fuck Destiny, aha.
Okay. But why though? Why? Because I could agree or disagree with that.
is, hey, we don't know who's in this program. We just know out of this cohort, XYZ amount of creators haven't spoken sufficiently about Gaza, about XYZ. And so they're sort of extrapolating a lot. What I would say to them is, hey guys, before you make a lot of those claims, let's encourage Chorus to publish the full roster. Let's encourage more creators to come forward themselves and talk about it if they're able to, so that we have a better picture of the ideological makeup. Because I just don't think we have enough information to know the true ideological makeup of this cohort without knowing people who are in it. I was able
because there's like multiple reasons why you would say screw Destiny. You could say screw Destiny because the Israel-Palestine stuff, he's on the wrong side. You could say screw him for that. Or you could say screw Destiny because he's
Linton
like
10. Haven't seen too much of his shit, so mostly his stance on Gaza and the whole revenge porning.
Yes. Okay, so those are, let's see. I don't really have too much of an, well, the last part, the revenge stuff, that's kind of, that's a wild statements. Let's just say that those are just wild things that are happening that are kind of very questionable. But there's a whole legal process going through it, so I can't really share an opinion until like all of the investigations like done and stuff. So I'll just wait on that. I'm not gonna really say anything on that too much until like the lawsuit and everything is like done. But the Israel-Palestine stuff, Destiny's not too bad on that. Personally, Destiny's not too bad on that. But I'm not gonna make this an Israel-Palestine debate. If you want to make it that way, we can dive into it. Maybe. It's a very bad idea because I did that one time, and then 7 hours of my life disappeared into research and stuff like that. So I don't know if I really want that to happen.
able to confirm a couple dozen creators, but 90 creators, we just don't know. You know, we could have a lot.
But like, what does that even mean? The ideological makeup, is this off of a singular issue, off of Israel-Palestine? And then now, if all of these people have been harassed, who have been like named in the story, then doesn't that just mean? So then we're not actually looking for transparency at all. We're just looking to make sure that they're, in alignment on this particular issue.
Well, some people, the people who care about that issue. So, for instance, with Gaza, right, Stephen, you would agree. A lot of people online care about this issue.
Yeah.
So
I think
they want to know.
Glenn Greenwald about it, even I think. Yeah.
I know, who hates me and finally had me on his show after shitting on me for years and years. For people who care a lot about Gaza and they really want to know who in this program is pro-Palestine, who in this program has said what, they want that level of transparency. Right now, we just don't have that level of transparency. And so I think one thing that would be helpful for this program and any programs in the future is to have more transparency. So people can look and say, hey, 50% of creators in this program haven't spoken up about abortion, haven't spoken up about Gaza, have said this, but haven't said this. Maybe support rolling back Section 230, whereas 50% support fighting Section 230. I don't know. I'm just think these are tech policy things that I care about. But I think that the more transparency, the better, and the less there are going to be this sort of like speculation. Because
right, so
I think
is the issue, is the scary thing that people are being funded through nefarious means, or that they just don't align politically enough with the people that want to witch hunt them? Because this just sounds like now we just want to see the full list of people to make sure that they are aligned on like the monoculture issue.
I think that personally, I don't really care where these people want to stand on whatever issue that they want to stand on.
Well, yeah, but you're publishing these articles that are being used by other people as basically puzzles against other people, right? And it sounds like
those people, they can take my article and use it however they want. Those people that are very focused on soul issues, right? They're going to take any announcement of any program. I've reported on other programs, by the way, that they've done the same thing too, right? Where they're like, well, where is this program on XYZ issue? And a lot of people care about, I mean, we saw this in the lead up to Harris's election.
Oh, I love this lady. This lady's so smart. Because Essie's making like these analogies as he's trying to make this into a zero-sum game. And she's like, no, there's obviously way more to this than just that. Like, listen to that one more time. It's a little bit of a manipulation, but
focused on soul issues, right? They're going to. I think that personally, I don't really care where these people want to stand on whatever issue that they want to stand on.
Well, yeah, but you're publishing these articles that are being used by other people as basically puzzles against other people, right? And it sounds like
those people.
Yeah, exactly. But like, Destiny, you make the same argument against yourself. Like, you say a bunch of stuff and a lot of people take you out of context and then just use what they want to hear from you and then implement that, but completely forget everything else that you've said, like that they may not disagree with or may agree with. Like, and now you're saying, well, like, these people are taking some of the things that you say and they're twisting into different things and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not her responsibility. Like, just like how it's not your responsibility to like if someone tries to take you out of context and twist what you say and then make it seem like you're saying something way worse than it actually is, like you make the same argument for yourself, but you're not going to give the same charitable response to her, especially when she did the whole libs of TikTok thing that you loved and had no issues with because it uncovered deep dark secrets from the other side. Like, come on now. Like, this is kind of hilarious, very hypocritical.
Can take my article and use it however they want. Those people that are very focused on soul issues, right?
Give me a second. My headphones is gonna die. Oh no, what did I just do? Oh yeah, forgot to respond. That's okay. It's okay. I'll find it. Where did we go? Where did we go?
And let's see. This is how Brian Tyler Cohen described it in the New York Times. He said, here's how
had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. So that was like in the contract. It said you were not allowed to produce this type of like conservative content or pro.
Oh,
because you keep pivoting. See.
Yes, I asked about this when I accepted
Wait, asked
this
about
fellowship.
what? Asked
And I
about
know
what?
that you're having about certain forms and things, but I know that Anna is somebody who I trust, who is the one of the top reporters in the country on dark money. She does explain the difference between the stuff in the video on my channel. I personally did not work at Open Secrets for 7 years, so I'm sorry that I can't like litigate all those little things, but I do feel confident in saying that I know where every dollar that I receive came from and who's paying the bills.
Sure. So
Hold up, I'm about to figure out where I was.
Read their site. They operate a dual 501c3 and an LLC structure. Do you know every dollar that goes into the LLC?
Yes, I asked about this when I accepted this fellowship, and I know that it's from
like they've given you like a profit and loss. They've given you some kind of tax filing, a 1040, 1120S.
They gave me enough information that I completely trust them. Yeah,
but then,
I don't
but
think
then you're
they're
taking
lying.
it on word from a billionaire, right?
No, I'm not taking it on word from a billionaire. I'm taking it from.
God,
I mean,
we
they provided me
acknowledge our
evidence
dependence
showing
upon
that, and
thee.
I believe them. And
we
you're right.
Okay, but to the outside world, it's a dark money. It's a dark money fund, right? Because we don't know what goes into the LLC. No, wait, how is it not dark money? Can they not accept an infinite amount of money from people that don't have to disclose?
This is not an LLC that pays investigative journalists is not dark money. Again, you're missing the key part, Stephen, of dark money, which is that it is political in nature. The goal
Investigative journalism can't be political in nature.
So the program that I'm in is not a political program, and it is not for political purposes, and it is completely nonpartisan. I'm not a Democrat, and in fact, I would say what I would.
All right, I'm just going to keep skipping through.
Content creators taking political money, in my opinion, should disclose and should ask a lot of questions because there's a lot of money.
We're just going to sit here because I can't find it.
aimed at influencing politics. Unfortunately, there's not as much money paying investigative journalists. Nobody's doing that. It's a charity, basically. Whereas there's a lot of money in.
She did say this. I remember that.
Political
She did say
system
this.
Was that they had restrictions on the political content that the content creators could make. That's not like a part of the contract.
So one thing that the story says is that there were restrictions.
There's going to be proof.
Stephen, it would be a great news story if they announced that. Why would they? Okay. First of all, they announced the public roster saying, hey guys, here's who are the newest members of our reporting fellowship. Now, if you think that there are secret journalists that are also part of the reporting fellowship that they didn't announce, I really encourage anyone to find that story. That would be a crazy story. I've been on the Zoom calls. I've never seen anybody that was not announced as part of the program on our Zoom meetups. That would be very silly, and there's no reason to hide who's in an investigative journalism fellowship. With the Chorus program, we know who some creators are in the program, but we don't know the full 90. And so what you're seeing a lot of creators on the left say is, hey, we don't know who's in this program. We just know out of this cohort, XYZ amount of creators haven't spoken sufficiently about Gaza, about XYZ. And so they're sort of extrapolating a lot. What I would say to them is, hey guys, before you make a lot of those claims, let's encourage Chorus to publish the full roster. Let's encourage more creators to come forward themselves and talk about it if they're able to, so that we have a better picture of the ideological makeup. Because I just don't think we have enough information to know the true ideological makeup of this cohort without knowing people who are in it. I was able to confirm a couple dozen creators, but 90 creators, we just don't know. You know, we could have a lot.
But like, what does that even mean? The ideological makeup? Is this off of a singular issue, off of Israel-Palestine? And then now, if all of these people that are harassed who have been like named in the story, then doesn't that just mean? So then we're not actually looking for transparency at all. We're just looking to make sure that they're, in alignment on this particular issue.
Well, some people, the people who care about that issue. So, for instance, with Gaza, right, Stephen, you would agree. A lot of people online care about this issue.
Yeah.
So
I think
they want to know.
Glenn Greenwald about it, even. I think, yeah. We
I
need
know,
to,
who hates me and finally had me on his show after shitting on me for years and years. For people who care a lot about Gaza and they really want to know who in this program is pro-Palestine, who in this program has said what, they want that level of transparency. Right now, we just don't have that level of transparency. And so I think one thing that would be helpful for this program and any programs in the future is to have more transparency. So people can look and say, hey, 50% of creators in this program haven't spoken up about abortion, haven't spoken up about Gaza, have said this, but haven't said this. Maybe support rolling back Section 230, whereas 50% support fighting Section 230. I don't know. I'm just think these are tech policy things that I care about. But like, I think that the more transparency, the better, and the less there are going to be this sort of like speculation. Because
so
I think
is the issue, is the scary thing that people are being funded through nefarious means, or that they just don't align politically enough with the people that want to witch hunt them? Because this just sounds like now we just want to see the full list of people to make sure that they are aligned on like the monoculture issue.
I think that personally, I don't really care where these people want to stand on whatever issue that they want to stand on.
Well, yeah, but you're
totally
publishing
up to
these
them.
articles that are being used by other people as basically
No.
other people, right? And it sounds like
those people, well, they can take my article and use it however they want. Those people that are very focused on soul issues, right? They're going to take any announcement of any program. I've reported on other programs, by the way, that they've done the same thing to, right? Where they're like, well, where is this program on?
This is where we left off, and I remember what I said to this.
XYZ issue. And a lot of people care about, I mean, we saw this in the lead up to Harris's election. We saw a lot about Gaza, but we also saw this exact same thing happen on other issues. Like, I mean, look at Gen Z for Change. Remember that back in 2020, or sorry, TikTok for Biden? There were so many conversations around like, well, who out of this cohort is for what? Like, that's just something that people want to know. And so I am saying, in the interest of transparency, it would behoove any of these organizations to be clear about their roster, because clearly there are activists online who care about specific issues, who want to know where these different cohorts stand, or who maybe want to reach out across the aisle and say, look, I've noticed that 70% of your creators haven't spoken about reproductive justice. So I'd like to reach out and educate you guys on this issue. Just more transparency is better across the board for no matter what. It alleviates all of this sort of speculation, and it just provides more opportunities, I think, for everyone to sort of build that trust with their audience.
Sure. I mean, as you've gone around like making the rounds on some of these shows, on a lot of these leftist shows, have you corrected anybody who is running with that?
I have tried to correct people, and I actually asked somebody to change a title on something, and I'm doing a TV hit tomorrow, like a television hit, and they literally reached out to me about with like misleading framing, and I was like, hey, before I hop on, I just want to make sure that you've read what the actual article says. And I even just sent an email to another podcast last night trying to debunk, like, I don't think they'd even read the article and they were going to cover it. So
sure, but
I get
I'm with particularly with because I'm pretty sure you told Glenn Greenwald that you'd felt that the Democratic establishment had chosen neoliberal content creators based on their position on whether or not it was a genocide in the Gaza Strip. Like, that was one of the things I think you said to Glenn Greenwald. So it seems like that's feeding like really heavily.
No. I think that traditionally during the campaign, maybe is that what you're thinking of? I was talking about during the campaign.
But it's in an interview while you're talking about your article, and this is the assumption that every other person who's read your piece is running with it. These people are being paid not to talk about Gaza, right?
I think we're very explicitly talking about during the DNC, but yeah, I've tried to correct it. I'm in the TikTok comments. If you see me in the TikTok comments, I'm saying, hey guys, just wanted to fact check this, and I just shared a video on Instagram. I literally just reposted a guy like. I think I reposted or I commented, I can't remember, but saying, so hey guys, here's what's true, here's what's not true. And I when I have time, I will make a more thorough video. Sometimes I try to do like a TikTok where I'm like, hey guys, here's the 10 craziest claims about my article. Like, let me share, kind of like debunk some of that. But
so you would say that, like, as it stands right now, based on what you've seen from Chorus, there's no evidence that they were guiding or telling content creators that were part of Chorus what type of content they could make or what political positions they had to have.
So they didn't give people explicit talking points. They didn't. They have these daily messaging check-ins, and obviously they are sort of letting creators into a cohort based on their own guidelines. We don't know their guidelines. Like, we don't know what criteria they were using to select the creators in their program. Again, more transparency would be great. But as far as I've seen, and you can see this even in the article itself, Stephen, is that we don't make the claim that they were like given talking points, or again, and we had creators reach out to us saying like, I was actually concerned about the Gaza stuff because like maybe it would whatever, but I looked into it and I did not find any evidence that they were preventing people from saying the word Israel or AIPAC or something that some people were claiming. So it does a lot of disservice to the journalism, I think, when you have these content creators come, like David Pakman, come on and refute claims that were never made in the article without making it clear.
Well, Hassan Piker also repeated that like these people were basically blocked from talking about Israel-Palestine, or I think Emma Vigilant, I think, also was saying as much, that like, oh, they're only allowing people to say good things about Israel. This is why I think a lot of those content creators maybe weren't responding to your article, but how well the leftists had ran with the article.
But I think it's important to respond to, I think it's important when you're debunking an article, especially if you care about building trust in journalism instead of dismantling trust in journalism. I think it's helpful to say, hey, these claims have not been made in the article, which actually actually bolsters their point. But of course, they spend so much time trying to discredit the article. But I think it would be helpful for them to say, hey, this claim wasn't made in the article, but let me debunk it. Because again, this is a very hot button issue, and I think it's worth. I know Current Affairs had a piece on this in a while. The Democratic Party does not have a great track record in this area, which I think is also what has, like, I'm talking specifically about the campaign trail and kind of what they did at the DNC. I think that has made a lot of people sort of question all of this stuff. But I think what they should do is counter that with more transparency. And another thing I could just debunk really quickly, since you're giving me the opportunity, is that we did not mention the DNC in the article, aside from just mentioning that this girl has a pro-DNC meme page. But a lot of people, I think, are conflating this liberal dark money group with the DNC. And I saw poor Shelby at the DNC sort of trying to fact check that. And I think I get that the DNC is a stand-in for things.
Well, it's because you bring up the Democrats a lot, right? Like when you say figures Democrats struggle to work with.
The DNC is a specific organization, and I just want to make it clear that we don't mention that specific organization. The DNC is used as slang for the establishment in a way that I'm sympathetic to, and I totally have done that myself. But we don't mention the DNC, and I've seen a lot of these creators tweet, for instance, a meme account that was tweeting about the Democrats. They quote tweeted it and said, "Oh, look, you're paid by the DNC. You're part of the same thing." That account was paid by the DNC, actually totally separately, but not part of this program. So the DNC has done tons of creator stuff. They have that new guy in place who maybe you should talk to, who's their new head of influencer. I think his name is Tim or something, partnerships. But they were not, like, we didn't even reach out to the DNC about this story because they're not.
Sure. So I guess when we say that, like, because the I don't know what you call the second title on the article, but the
subhead.
So an initiative aimed at boosting Democrats online offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line, and then all they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. And then you mentioned later on in the article about the Democrats and Joe Biden and campaigns. Like, that feels like a pretty official establishment to your.
Sure. Oh, they're definitely in with the establishment.
Well, like not just, but like the White House and Joe Biden, and I mean, it feels pretty easy to rope. I would understand why anybody would rope the DNC into that, right? If you're talking about literally the party and pushing the party line and Joe Biden and the White House, right?
I mean, we don't
Well, I mean, she literally just said that people use DNC as like the elites or the swamp is kind of like that. Like that when they say DNC, she literally just said that a lot of people that say that don't literally mean the DNC. They mean like the big bad people that will basically make you not say what you want to say, kind of like that. But now we're just going to pretend that argument didn't exist and just pretend that we have no idea. When they say DNC, they meant it literally the DNC. Okay, good one.
Mention that we mentioned Joe Biden so they can loop that in and establishment and sure, but I don't think those people actually read the article, Stephen. Based off a lot of what people have been saying, I just don't think people made it past the paywall. Because if they made it past the paywall, the people at least that I've interacted with that are confused about the article, when I send them the text of the article or I send them the remove paywall link, it usually has cleared things up. So.
Okay. I feel like if I wrote an article and this many people had this big of a misunderstanding, I would be very bothered. But
not a lot of people had this misunderstanding. The only people that had the misunderstanding was the people that got hurt by it. Those are the only people that had a misunderstanding. Holy crap. Not a lot of people got misunderstood. Bro, you're just in a bubble right now. Like, a lot of people had a misunderstanding. A lot of people that I know who's negatively affected by this. Had a very big misunderstanding. The whole Temple Russia stuff. A lot of people that Temple basically made the same argument. Like, a lot of people had a misunderstanding, doesn't even know what. Actually, Temple outright says that people are just lying about it and they're just trying to smear him. But Destiny still goes like, oh, well, Temple obviously did take money from the Russians, right? Like he did, true, right? When it's obviously not true. But Destiny's like, oh, it's. The parallel exists. The parallel exists.
That's why I'm here helping you understand it, because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And I do want to be accountable to people. I pride myself on engaging with lots of people, even if they disagree with me on so many issues. I will always talk to them, hear out their point, hear their feedback. That's how I become a better journalist. If I only talk to people that agree with me or never have criticism of me, I would not become a better journalist. So I appreciate your feedback, and especially your feedback about, the ability to post more source material online. That's certainly something, again, that I've advocated throughout my career and will continue to advocate for. But I like to hear feedback. What I don't like is people doing stupid personal attacks or saying, oh, you're a secret Republican or whatever. Like, that is just so...
Yo, especially after she did the whole that's so true. I bet Destiny did say that. Destiny did say that on his stream, like, oh, she's probably a secret Republican now because she just pushed some information that wasn't like bad for the right now. It was bad for the left. So she must be a secret Republican after this one thing, even though she literally did She literally did the hit piece on Libs of TikToks, and Libs of TikTok is like a right wing type of like TikTok account, I guess, that just exposes or just reposts the absurd nonsense that the left like does. Like whenever a lefty person like throws a crazy thing on the internet, she I think she takes it, re-uploads it, and then shows how stupid this is. Like, this is what people on the political left like believe. And she did some sort of exposure on that person, but now Destiny would be like, oh, but now why are you trying to be fair here? Like, come on now.
Stupid and unproductive and like that doesn't like do anything to you know what I mean? It's just very silly. Not that you did that, but I just, in terms of like why I block people online and stuff like that, it's because I have to know that you're actually coming in good faith.
Okay. All right. Is there any other thing you want to go over related to this, or?
I think that's it. I hope that people can read it, and I hope that they can keep an open mind. I think that a lot of people reflexively might hate the article, right? Because they want the Democrats to win, and they don't want to support any article that they feel like is critical, right? They're like, why are you bashing? Why are you doing a hit piece?
Why aren't you being a partisan hack and supporting Democrats only? True.
Is that I also want the Democrats to win. Obviously, I don't want Trump in power. Of course not. He's a fascist. It's terrible. I don't support the MAGA movement. I'm not a Republican. I want them to have a more effective strategy. And I think before you attack me, look at people like Tina Wynn or Mia Sato or some of these other journalists that have written so smartly. McKenna Kelly also writes about politics really well on the internet. Like, a lot of people have made similar points that I've made in this story about these broader sort of issues with the Democrats and the Democrats all over, from the DNC to the lawmakers to these groups and stuff, about their sort of media strategy. And I think that we can all agree that the Democrats do need a better media strategy and a better set of policies, I would argue, to reach more people. And so when you read an article like mine, before you get so mad or before you start fighting, on the internet or whatever, please understand that, like, it would be great if I wish the Democrats would run a more transparent, more effective program. I've written those pieces, by the way, announcing more transparent programs, or promoted those pieces when I see them in the news and think, wow, that's really great. I have no problem with an effective influencer program. I have no problem if they just say, you know what, guys, we're only doing a neoliberal influencer program. I don't think that's all they should do, but maybe they want to cater to those people online for a while. I don't know. They've been doing that for years, but who cares? That's their prerogative. I think that the issue is transparency. And what we should ask for in this space is more transparency across the board. Because the less transparency, the more advantage the far right has. Because they have more money. If you start to play the dark money game, like, they're going to win every time. So we want more transparency in the space. We want more transparency from our political media so we know who we can trust. And yeah, that's all. But you don't have to I'm not a secret Republican, or I think that it's not that controversial.
Sure. I mean, I agree with I agree with what you're saying. I don't think that was hardly anywhere in the article. I feel like the only prescription I saw from the article was the quote from the one person, which basically says that I didn't
put prescriptions in it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, there was a prescription in it, which was that the middleman is bad, basically. That there shouldn't be, that people should just give money directly to content creators. So, like, that we're supposed to fund the entire democratic messaging apparatus of super chats and Medium or Substack subscriptions, I guess.
I don't know about that. But I do think less top-down control is good. I mean, if you look at Turning Point as a version of success, right? They have, of course, some organizational structure, but it's pretty open and collaborative.
Charlie Kirk literally has phone calls with Donald Trump. It is one of the most top-down, heavy, organized things. Charlie Kirk is
top-down in terms of sure in terms of their messaging. But I'm saying it's a big, sprawling organization.
Yeah, this top-down structure. They raise a ton of money from people that pay money into them. They all take direction and organizational stuff from Charlie Kirk, who communicates with President Donald Trump. Yeah.
Sure, top-down in terms of messaging. I guess maybe top-down is the wrong word. Why don't I rephrase it so that?
Yeah, Destiny is always. Whatever you give any good faith towards the other side, Destiny has to be like, we gotta play the semantic game now. Like, oh, they didn't actually like, this top down. No, it wasn't top down. Use a better synonym, man. Use a better synonym. Use a better synonym. That's not the actual technical. Like, you can't give them that. You need to, it wasn't top down. Like, they do top down things, right? Bro, it's so wild. It's so wild. But then when you say anything about like libs of TikTok, oh yeah, that was based, true. Like, so what if it was a bit like bad faith? Like, based, true. What?
You're not confused.
To be clear, I'm not confused. I'm just saying that you're advocating for some type of structure, like what Charlie Kirk is doing.
There seems to be some confusion between what I'm trying to communicate and how you're receiving it.
I understand.
So let me rephrase it in a way.
Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. Let me rephrase it in a way so that my message is clear.
Yes.
Okay. And that is not an indictment of you. I am just trying to explain what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I think that more transparency is good, because the more open these programs are, the more people will want to get involved, the more grassroots the movement becomes, and the more the less bad faith attacks can be levied. You know what I mean? And I think that is just something that across the board is helpful. I understand the purpose of middlemen. I think there's all these different sort of things that they can serve and not serve. I don't think it helps the Democratic Party to only rely on middlemen. But look at iShowSpeed, who did a great live stream from the Capitol the other day, got, helped the Democrats, whatever. Adam Faze coordinated that. That was great, right? Like things like that are fine. It's great.
Has there
I'm
been
not
another
against-
organization, like you said, Chorus had 90 content creators. Is there any organization of this size that has existed so far?
They're the big one. There's a few other, like Vocal Media has done some stuff. There's a Teddy Schleifer actually in the New York Times wrote a really good piece, which might be good for you to review with your audience on a lot of these different efforts. There's I think it's called Project Bullhorn. There's Project Zero. They all have sort of different goals of some of them are funding creators directly, some are funding editors. They all sort of have different structures and things. I think Channel Zero, is that the one that Rob Flair is doing?
The members, the things that you just are listed, are all of those people public with every person that they're paying and where all of their funding sources are from? Because it's not really like you said, people would be more excited to join these programs, but Chorus seems like the largest one of them.
Yeah, well, Chorus was the first out of the gate. So a lot of those other programs haven't launched yet, and they're launching now. And so that's why we want to get these discussions going and say, hey guys, look, Chorus is first mover in the space. They're definitely the biggest and the most notable. They got that splashy New York Times profile 10 days after the election. But now that all the donors are so invested in investing in media, why don't you listen to some of these creators themselves and do it in a little bit more of an open and transparent way. I don't think it's going to hurt them the way that they think that it will. I think it'll actually help them. And if you listen to that great piece on The Verge between Tina and Mia, I think that they make a very compelling argument for transparency.
Okay. I hope that transparency is a thing we can all push for, especially in the media environment. I think it's one of the most damaging things right now in the United States is not having that transparency. So, yeah.
And if people want to learn more about dark money.
So you agreed the entire time, Destiny. You just didn't like that it was on your side. Good one.
Go watch the video that I made.
Bro, we're literally a minute before the end of this thing. So Destiny agreed the entire time, but he just wanted to argue for an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 41 minutes, because he just didn't like that. Why are you focusing it on this side? It made it, why it seemed like this was a hit piece. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's fine. She obviously didn't think it was a hit piece. But we can agree to disagree for that because people have different interpretations for different words. People use different words in different ways, in similar ways, not identically the same way, but in similar ways. And some people think that one thing is an over exaggeration. The other person may think, no, actually, no, that might be a little under exaggerated. But they're both basically saying that that's the truth. It's just that one is saying it's more overblown than it actually is, but. They literally just disagree with the framing of the actual article, but the overall point that she was espousing in the article, Destiny agrees with. But let's just argue, just to argue, which is kind of funny.
Anna on my YouTube channel. I think she answers a lot of questions. And she also herself is very open to receiving questions and feedback. And if you have further questions, I know she would love to hear from people.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, hey, listen, thanks. I know I'm here to kind of bully you and shout at you, so I appreciate the conversation for an hour and a half. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Happy to chat. Always happy to chat about my reporting. Thank you guys so much for reading and engaging with my work. And if you have a story that you want me to cover, just reach out.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right. I think I'm done for now. I'm done. I think I'm done. Yeah. Stream is over. Thanks for watching. Do what's on screen right now. Yeah, do what's on screen. You can see what's on screen. Wait, hold up. You got yeah, there we go. Boom. All these words. Yeah, do what's on screen. Thank you. And yeah, we're done. Goodbye. I'll see you later.